detective. Thrill me.
All right, welcome back to the Thrill Me podcast. The full crew is back tonight, and we're covering a bit of Freddy Krueger. Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors, a personal favourite of mine.
Oh, geez.
Plenty of nostalgia for me.
I hope it's mostly nostalgia.
Before we get into what we've been watching, obviously Jared and Gibbo were not here for the Rambo and Exorcist pairing.
Dirty.
I feel me and Matty really sort of dug into the layers of those films, and I mean, I think I used the word juxtapose somewhere in there, so it was higher brow.
I'm still laughing at Matty breaking down what we'd have on Rambo's RSVP profile about what he needs in a woman. That was fantastic.
Well, I would say that Rambo 2 is known for being a layered film.
It is,
that makes a lot of sense that you guys really had to dig into it.
Yeah. Now, I'm just going to get a quick thoughts from you guys. Rambo 2.
Rambo 2, terrible movie, love it. It's everything you want an 80s action movie to be. There's explosions, there's muscles that are oiled up unnecessarily. There's a completely just offhand fucking love story that just goes nowhere real quick. He seems to not give any fucks, and then he blows a bunch of shit up. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's a 3. I'd give it a 3, and 2.5 out of that's nostalgia. It's brilliant.
It's kind of Rambo at his best and worst all rolled into one.
Because he's at his worst when he's at his best. Yeah. And vice versa. No, it's great.
So everyone's a bit of a Rambo 2.
What scores did you guys? I haven't had a chance.
I gave it 2.
Yeah,
2 out of 5.
Matty?
2.5?
Good man.
Yeah, I'm there.
High five, Matthew.
I couldn't go there.
I'd probably be a 2.
Yeah.
I would have been about a 4, and then Frank Stallone came in and fucking dragged it all the way back down.
You're only famous because your brother, you fuckhead.
Frank Stallone. That is definitely on the Thrill Me mixtape on YouTube.
The master of the synthesizer.
It's bloody brilliant, that song.
Bring back One Night Stallone.
On the other side of things,
one, The Exorcist.
Exorcist, all timer, it's a 5. One of my favourite horror movies ever made.
Yeah.
Considering when it was made and what they did with what they had to work with, it's a fucking masterclass.
Yeah.
Massive fan.
Incredible atmosphere.
Everything. Even some of the effects, considering they basically had some toothpaste and some jelly and a fucking chick in a bed, and they just go to town with everything. It's unreal.
Yeah, not going to lie, when I realised I couldn't make it, I was a little bit glad I didn't have to watch that movie again, because it scares the fucking shit out of me. I have watched it once in my life, and I haven't gone back because
unsettling.
It's one of the ones that fucking stayed with me. I've had fucking nightmares about that movie, and not many movies do that to me anymore.
Remember when we discussed the Amityville Horror?
Yeah.
And we said what they were trying to do was get The Exorcist.
The same. Yeah.
They
failed.
dismally.
Put some flies on a window. That'll fuck them up. No.
The Exorcist, and I thought when I look back on The Exorcist, I'm not going to like it. I'm going to be disappointed because I looked at Amityville and thought, if this is what they thought was scary then, The Exorcist was 7 years before that.
Yeah.
It's going to be a dud. But it's just the atmosphere. It's what they build. It's not like The Conjuring where they go bang, 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 and they scare you like that.
Yeah.
It's they make you just feel uncomfortable,
unsettled.
And if I ever have to see that fucking demon face just pop up randomly, honestly, I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It just goes, and I'm like, I'm through that.
Honestly, when I've had nightmares about that movie, that face has been in it, and I'm just thinking, oh fuck, here we go. Can we just wake up now, please?
I watched it once with my sister and a girl who were both like clinging to me.
You're like, oh, there's a girl here, but my sister's here. I'm kind of.
Yeah, you're like,
I'm torn.
You got Kathy.
Yeah, come closer.
So what would you score it, Jared?
Oh, I'd probably have to go a 5. Again, that's been a long time since I've watched it, but my recollection and the fact that it still sticks with me is probably got to be a 5.
It's definitely.
So it's 5s all round?
Yeah. It's one of the...
God, we're smart. All of us. Very smart.
I gave it 4.5, but there's no real reason to give it... they settle? No real reason to knock it down. I just didn't want to be...
You're a very negative human.
Let's jump into what we've been watching. Stakes. Mine was very short.
Give it to us.
John McCall's.
Love it. Big surprise. Mixing things up again.
I knocked over Santa Clarita Diet.
I tried starting it.
It was alright. It was alright. Because they're so short, it's just kind of pretty bite-sized sort of stuff. It's funny in parts, and Timothy Olyphant is really good. but
I watched the first episode and I'm like,
average.
I couldn't be bothered going back for this.
I mean, there's a nice chemistry between him and Drew Barrymore, but it's there's no Nathan Fillion.
Yeah.
Rocks up, which is always good. It's always good. And he gets a few gags in there, which is good. But, yeah, look, I probably won't go past this. There was 2 seasons, I knocked them over. I can't see myself hanging in for
Is it going again? Are they doing another
I
season?
don't know. I haven't heard anything about them.
It came out and it was like this big buzz like at the start and then it just went...
Yeah, it just kind of disappeared.
No one said anything about it.
I watched Popstar.
Never stop it.
Never stop me.
So has everyone seen it now?
I haven't seen it yet.
Oh, Matty, you got to get on board.
It's absolute
terrible.
shite.
I'll
I got some
mention it next
laughs out of it. Sighting the guy's dick.
In the window.
Well, it's quite amusing, and I also got a laugh at how he was checking reviews.
Yeah.
And Rolling Stone gave him a poo emoji. And he's like, oh, they must have made a mistake.
He may be delusional, that bloke.
Yeah, but I like that. And then me and my wife went deep diving into some sort of horror shambles. It was called #horror.
Oh, what? Netflix?
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
And
horror.
well, half an hour. Look, it's hard to explain. I think
It
pure
should be.
shit.
I'm
might
pretty
be
sure,
the best way.
I'm pretty sure I saw the poster and that was enough to
And-
say.
And it was too much for you to even watch
We
it.
were half
right.
an hour in, and I just said, "Look, I can't do this. I cannot do it." And that's a surprise coming from me because usually I will fight. I will fight all the way.
You've gone down the rabbit hole of some weird horror lately.
Shit. But this was too much to bear. But that's it for me. Very short.
Yeah, right.
Matty, you got a short one? Or?
I've got a decent list, actually.
Oh, I was going to
The,
say, me and Gibbo have got
Okay,
a laundry
moving on.
list.
I guess getting into the spirit of today's podcast, I've for the first time watched Nightmare on Elm Street all the way through.
Ooh.
And
first one?
and the second.
Oh,
How's the second one for you?
Just a preview.
The second one was great. Jesse looks like George Plimpton. He's great. It starts off looking like a 1980s commercial,
Yeah.
and it doesn't stop throughout the whole
And
thing.
how fun is the S&M club? The bloody coach who likes to go there.
There's some cool stuff. I've got the brains, where he's like reveals his head. That was pretty cool. The budgie going nuts like it was a Hitchcock movie and exploding into nothing was pretty funny.
I love it.
There's a pretty sick motorboat in there.
Oh, yeah. Where his tongue comes out. Yeah.
But then I was like, is every single one of these movies going to end with, but it was all a dream?
Yeah.
Pretty much. I think they all do.
More or less.
So I went through that. That was pretty good. Nightmare on Elm Street was pretty gold. The first one, Johnny Depp in a crop top. That was one of the most unexpected and probably the bloodiest death of movie history.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
He just turned into puree.
Yeah.
Spread all over the roof.
I watched.
Also, what's the explanation from the cops? Suicide?
Natural causes. He turned into a strawberry smoothie.
Yeah. It's ambiguous. You're not sure if it's part of the dream or part of the reality.
And they never actually show you what the room looks like, so whether or not he's cut his throat or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. I guess that in the beginning of the third one, we'll talk about it later.
But
what they think is happening to them, what's actually happening.
Yeah, but I will raise that as there being an issue in this film.
Yeah. I got onto this one called Bare Knuckle Fight Club. So it's basically it's 4 episodes.
Is this
only
a
4
documentary
episodes.
style?
Doco, it's a doco.
I saw it
Have
on
you seen
Netflix.
it?
No, I was going to check it out, but I decided not to.
It has some of the best shit in it ever. Like you couldn't script some of it. There's the worst woman in the world. She's watching her son and her boyfriend fight each other, and she's like cheering as they're like belting the shit out of it. It's pretty fucking entertaining. But it's all like based around this guy who's a former underworld debt collector, and he's just trying to.
So it's reality TV then?
Yeah, it's for real. Yeah, it looks for real.
Wow.
As far as I can tell. But he's got some mental problems. Like he's got some disassociation.
Good to put him on TV then?
Yeah.
Give him a platform?
But then so he's like
platform.
trying to create this world of this bare knuckle fighting, which is just the whole room is filled. You watch the fights, the whole room is filled with with dickheads and.
Is this like wrong bit?
It's not in a tunnel. It's not said. It's somewhere between
Is
the
there a
tunnel
guy
and the
in a
squash
kilt
court.
somewhere around?
Anyone escaping the French Foreign Legion?
But some of the most interesting people fighting each other.
Yeah.
There's an ex-marine who. He's just one of the worst human beings. He just hates himself, and I think to get into this, they've just got a lot of these guys have crosses to bear. There's like completely non-educated people that are just. This is the only way I know how to live.
So it's glorified bum fights.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's full on. There's a gypsy in there.
I think that might be a must skip. This,
Yeah.
I think.
It's good though.
Although it's probably on the same list as this latest Sandler film. Just go on.
I got onto a show called Happy.
Is that the guy with the
unicorn?
Yeah, it's the comic based one.
Yeah. Have you guys? Is anyone into that
No, I
yet?
haven't watched it yet.
Is it any good?
It's got Christopher Maloney in it from Law and Order. Yeah, real good.
Yeah.
Loving it. He is pretty damn good, pretty solid, and it's better than
He's a really good actor.
What is it? Hot Wet American
We're on
Summer.
American
Yeah.
Summer. Although the lady's the best part of that whole thing.
But yeah, it's just full on action. I think you're gonna love it, Hugo. Just him belting the shit out of people.
Okay.
Pretty good.
Matt Rambo?
Yeah. Last I watched some stand up. John Mulaney. Have you guys heard of this bloke?
No.
He does like a 10-minute bit on assemblies in school. I was in stitches. It was so funny.
Better watch that one.
Yeah, definitely.
Teachers in the room stand up.
Is this another Netflix one?
Yeah, Netflix.
I've seen that one, yeah,
This
yeah.
guy's hilarious. He's so good. He's got a couple on there, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, that was 5 out of 5. I loved it.
Okay.
I watched this one. It was like Agetsuko, which is it's 15-minute cartoons, but it's like a Japanese one that just doesn't translate. So it's sort of like 1 out of 5. Like I started watching it thinking, oh, this will be good, and it's the first 2 minutes is good, where she just hates her life, and then it just becomes like, oh, I'm wearing Crocs to work, and I didn't realise. It's weird.
Well, you're selling it, Matty.
Yeah.
What are you watching?
I'm putting that on my. You guys and your deep dives.
I thought I did.
I was like, this is great. 15 minutes. I can pay attention.
Honestly,
I can not be on my phone for 15 minutes. I can watch
You
it.
are swimming in a fucking sewage fire.
Yeah, but that's my list anyway.
Okay.
Give up.
Okay, I'll go next, I guess then. I watched one on Netflix called The Titan. Don't watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was interesting idea and stuff, but it's got a real Bright vibe about it. I don't think anyone here liked Bright, did we?
No, I
didn't mind it.
Didn't love it. Didn't mind watching it, but
This isn't as good as
forget
Bright, so yeah, definitely give it a miss. It's basically about humans destroyed Earth, and we've got to move to a moon called Titan. But in order to do that, they've got to do forced evolution on a test group of people, and they basically turn into these amphibious super. But they lose their mental faculties and stuff. It's a very weird movie.
What are we doing?
He turns into a fish man. He turns into the bloke from fucking Shape of Water, but with violent tendencies, and he's the protagonist. It's very anyway, probably give it a miss. Black Lightning, I've been soldiering on with that.
Finish that. Is that done? That's done.
yeah, done for a season. Yeah.
13, so
Whether it gets renewed or
I
not.
like the
I'm
stuff.
glad I didn't have to watch that for a week.
I like the stuff at the end of
A glowing endorsement.
waiting for the weekly episode was a fucking drag at this point when you don't even want to watch I just wanted to get it over with. But the younger daughter arc, it got a bit tiresome at the end, but I actually liked that they just didn't want her to she just didn't want to jump in and be a superhero with everybody else. It was a bit of a different take. But how many times can you hear someone say, I don't want to be this? They sort of flog that to death. And then bringing in the kid back with the dreadlocks so you know he's a baddie now,
New look and a new attitude.
Is it fair?
he used to be a clean-cut student athlete. Now he's a dreadlocks and he's on drugs. Ooh.
Is it fair to say the three of you would prefer this was not renewed? For
I do not want to watch another season of it, especially because James Remar's still alive.
It's just the
He
same.
became funny by the end of it. I was like, oh, he's back in it again.
He's not funny.
How is he going to overact this scene?
Painful.
Yeah, it's not.
So
no,
it's not worth a read.
It's not different enough to all the other ones they're doing. The
this
formula
DC?
is still there. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
But it's just so
Well,
on
they've
the
got another one
nose.
on too. They got Krypton going now.
It was
too.
way too happy
They
at the
can't
end
get
of it,
anything right.
All of that stuff.
They're like clicking heels.
Well,
at the
they
end of
can.
that.
They've got seasons of that TV right. There is really good seasons of Arrow. The first season of The Flash was really good. Yeah. Even Legends of Tomorrow has got a bit of a different vibe
but
to it.
now they all have gone too far, is that...
Well, Legends of Tomorrow actually turned into the good one because they had a Quantum Leap sort of vibe. They'd be going through
and they had more characters to work with.
Yeah.
They could move things around.
And this one
match up
died because it
pairings,
started out as something that looked like it was going to be really good, and then it just fell into...
I love what they're
trucks.
trying to do, but it just got so fucking heavy-handed with the racial stuff. Like, if you're going to do that, do it well.
Yeah.
Because now that they've done this, I think it's going to scare a lot of people off from trying to do it the right way, which is a shame because the message they're trying to sell, like with the police issues that they've got over there with race, all that sort of stuff, but it's just so heavy-handed and on the nose how they try and do it. It didn't work for me, so... I watched a movie called Room, which is...
Yep, Brie Larson.
You know... It's incredible. Fucking amazing.
Not worth... I would not like to watch it again.
It's not a rewatch.
Really
you do it once and you've done it. It's so well done, though. Like, it's incredible the way that's done. Like, the acting and stuff in it. The little kid in that is really good. Yeah. So that was good. I watched Pacific Rim Uprising with my little bloke. Had to take him for his birthday. Fuck me dead, is it poor?
Is it worse than the first one?
It's way worse than the first one. The first one had... All the things had weight and, like... believable, like it was believable. This feels like you're watching a Transformers movie, like a video game of a Transformers movie. It's just...
Your son loved it, I'm assuming.
He thought it was incredible. He said it's the best movie he's ever seen. But he's 8.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But that's okay.
Watched the one on Netflix called Amateur about a junior basketball player.
How was that?
It's really good.
Yeah. Good. I'm going to check that out because I saw that on the list.
It's actually not bad. Watched the new Jumanji with the kids.
Right. How was that?
Loved it.
Yeah, it's cool.
Mate, it's Jack Black. He's a fucking genius in that. Acting as a teenage girl.
Yeah.
The story, like him, like, oh, I've got a penis, and like he does everything spot on. But the casting across the board was Karen Gillan's really
even
good.
Kevin Hart.
He's right.
It was an okay level of Kevin Hart. Any more Kevin Hart would have been too much Kevin Hart.
Okay.
But he was fine, so that was all right. I watched Shot Caller, which is that one about the investment banker that kills his friend in a drunk driving accident, goes to jail and turns into like a drug, like a gang. No, it's fucking top shelf.
Was this on Netflix?
Yeah. No, it's a really good. No, actually, no. I watched it on PSN. I don't think it is on Netflix.
And who's in it? Is it one of the Game of Thrones guys?
Yeah. Jamie Lannister. What's his name? Fucking Nikolai Coster-Waldau.
Yeah.
It's good, man. It's a top shelf recommend that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't probably sell it very well, but it's really well done. I watched 47 Metres Down. Forgot to bring it back for you, Coxie. Sorry. Finally watched your Blu-ray that you lent me about 3 months ago.
No problems.
Didn't mind it. It's a little bit too action movie-ish for me. Like I would have liked if it was a bit more realistic and it was more just the darkness and the isolation instead of every time they go out, great whites are trying to chew their faces off because that's just not real. And there's some issues with the scuba diving science that they try and be real realistic, but they make a lot of big mistakes. So that's a bit of a bummer. I watched a Colin Farrell movie called The Lobster.
Yes!
Maddie watched that one.
too.
That is a very strange film. Oh my god!
So good though.
I mean, it's what they're trying to do. They do well, but fuck, it's weird. Like, what do you? I want to be a lobster because they, they meet for life, and they're like, it's a very weird premise. If you don't have a partner, you're not contributing to society. We're going to turn you into an animal.
Done. How funny is that when they're acting out what it's like to be in a relationship when you're
if
not...
you had a man with you, you wouldn't get raped by this dude over here. It's like, fuck. Mate, because I heard good things about it. It was sort of talked about as like a really like hidden gem sort of thing. I can't give it that status. It's fucking interesting for a watch though because it's very... I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, for sure.
Never seen anything like it.
I loved it though. I did love it.
I went and watched... I watched 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, more of the same.
Michael Bay.
It's so Michael Bay. Like, he just cannot do a movie without American flags flying in the background.
Michael Bay wanted to direct Black Hawk Down, but Jerry Bruckheimer said...
Settle down,
this
mate.
isn't for you. We need a very good director for this, not your sort of shit. Because then he started... Even Bad Boys 2, he tries that type of shooting in places.
Yeah.
And then this is his kind of version. It was okay.
He's trying to be... It's fine, but you know it's a Michael Bay film? An explosion that should just be a fireball has sparks and fucking fireworks shooting out of it.
Yeah.
It's
And look, I thought some of the actors were pretty good. I thought
John Krasinski did a good
was
job.
Good, yeah.
The bloke out of the first Pacific Rim that does the terrible Australian accent, he was really good in it.
Yeah.
There's some good things in there, but it's just so
And
Michael
it goes
Bay.
on forever.
And it's a slog.
Whew.
It's like 2.5 hours
Bloody hell.
of Bayness
Sometimes
without the requisite like Megan Fox sighting.
Sometimes you can have too much Bay, and I think
Lots of times you can have too much Bay. And then the only other one I had was Infinity War.
yeah,
Loved it.
yeah.
I haven't seen that yet.
Haven't seen it yet. Okay, we won't talk about it too much.
I'm behind on my
I'm way behind on that.
I'm-
I've never seen Black Panther.
Yeah,
Oh,
me neither.
come on,
I haven't
mate.
seen that either.
Jared, we need our own podcast.
Well,
This is a disgrace.
Can
Well,
I sneak a couple in? I missed three. I missed three. I missed the confession tapes, which is...
Oh yeah,
Have you seen that?
False Confessions.
I figured you'd be all over
Yeah, I
that.
saw that. It was good. Some of them
yeah.
were good, some of them were shit.
Yeah, well,
I really liked the first
three?
one about the two kids who they got them with the Mr. Big scenario.
Yeah.
Which is not legal in the US.
Oh, it's not legal in Canada anymore.
It's legal
either.
in It used to be legal in
It's-
Canada. It's actually legal in Australia.
What's the
Mr. Big is
scenario?
is what they
Convince-
used to get the guy who killed Daniel Morecambe. When he left the inquest I can't remember when, because he was a person of interest. He left the inquest. He got on a plane. He was sitting next to an undercover cop, and they slowly brought him in to. You're in a criminal underworld, right? And it took months and months and months. Then they put him in touch with Mr. Big, and Mr. Big said, "Listen, we hear that you've got something to do with Daniel Morecomb's death. You tell us what went on. We can make it go away." And so he admitted it.
And he admitted it, and they
he
got him.
took them to the body.
So what they're trying to say, it's like an entrapment sort of
Kind
situation?
of, yeah. That was basically what
Sorry,
they were
don't
saying.
murder people then.
But the Canadian version was, you said it. So that means you did it.
Yeah.
You know what?
That's
I think
good.
those two kids did do it. But that's
I
my...
don't know. The fact that the heads were facing east, the scarf over the head was probably...
Yeah, but still, I think there was involvement by them.
I don't know.
But
I
yeah,
wasn't there.
it's all up conjecture.
I wasn't there. I watched a fair bit of Forensic Files as well.
Oh yeah, I love
The,
Forensic Files.
Yeah. If
Real easy, half an hour, 20 minutes. Or something.
If there's an episode where they don't say, but what the criminals didn't know about was the luminar.
Yeah, I love it.
Every single episode.
I love it.
Every episode.
And the case is constantly going cold. Regularly going cold.
And then and Handmaid's Tale as well.
Yeah, what's that?
Yeah, really good. It's getting
It's good. It sounds like it's a tough
it's
watch.
getting
though.
a bit
Slow
slow
burn, I
now.
believe it.
Yeah, it's
No, I
very
mean, but it's pretty heavy stuff too, right?
yeah,
Like,
if you've got a family, it's going to be
pretty
difficult.
uncomfortable. Yeah.
It's awkward because it's all about like.
Because Riley's like, oh,
you got
what's
to
his
give up your
Handmaid's Tale? I'm
kids.
like, no, I don't think you do.
Yeah.
Riley likes PG fare and below, pretty much.
It
so.
sounds like when I first heard it, I was like, is it going to be something about like some soppy thing? And
Yeah.
I was like, but it is definitely not.
No.
Yeah, really good. Worth a watch. Absolutely, get into it.
Okay.
All right, Coxie.
So mine's a little more down the line. Not a lot of very
Weird,
off the-
No lobsters or anything.
Yeah, Japanese.
Let's just say mine's the mainstream list.
Yeah.
I watched Ash vs Evil Dead, so I've watched the entirety except the last episode now. And given that it's going to be canned,
Cancelled,
and
yeah.
Bruce Campbell's announced that he won't play Ash again,
Yeah.
I'd assume I'll probably shed a tear by the end of that
Yes.
one. Joel McHale show, obviously.
Always
Fuck,
a
it's
fella.
good. It's always the quality of each episode is based on the quality of the clips that they find.
Yes.
But when the clips that week are funny, it's
Yeah.
fucking hilarious. Sherlock Gnomes with the kids. Yeah.
Is it as good as Romeo and Juliet?
I didn't see that one.
Did you see that? Oh.
I dodged it, but I had to cop this one. So.
Does this one have all Elton John soundtrack as well?
No.
Oh, see, that's
Don't
what
think so.
that's where Romeo and Juliet went
Look,
right.
it wasn't bad. It had Johnny Depp, but you know, did all right. I saw A Quiet Place with Maddie. Maddie mentioned it last
Oh,
time.
yeah. I'm
But,
super keen for
obviously, I wasn't here. Yeah, I enjoyed it. Good, solid thriller. I don't think it's as scary as people have said it is. I don't know whether that's because we're sort of desensitised to it, but I didn't get a lot of scares. There wasn't a lot of jumpy moments.
You said it was like everything was forecast in it. So.
Yeah, everything sort of seems sort of telegraphed a little bit.
I don't know if I said it last week, but the way that the monsters all look the same these days.
Yeah.
They all have the same look.
Looked like the demigorgon.
I was going to say, so it's going to be a tall, gaunt thing with long limbs.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And to be honest, it wasn't as original as some people have said. Like, the monsters to me were very similar to The Descent. And the silent parts were stuff we've seen in like Hush, but all of it together makes for a really solid film, really enjoyable film. I saw Rampage.
You did say
I
it.
liked it. It
Really?
Well, it's exactly what you think it is. And there was a couple of really funny little nods to the game. So if you grew up playing Rampage,
Who didn't?
there was a couple of things that happened where you kind of like, you sort of saw what was going to happen. But if you hadn't played the games, you might not have seen it going there. So it was kind of little nods to people that had grown up playing Rampage. I mean, it's the Rock and giant monsters. You can't go too far wrong there. It was solid fun.
Not,
movie.
not to
It wasn't
knock
great.
The Rock just quietly, because it's obvious that these films are decent. Like, he's not just picking up poop. Like, Jumanji sounded on initially
sounded
like
rough,
could be really
yeah.
bad,
Yeah.
but it made it into an entertaining film.
was a big
Rampage is
surprise.
the same. I would really like to see The Rock take a slight detour in his next couple of films. Just something different. Give me something else.
Yeah, but
Because
that's,
he can. He's
but that's not
capable.
going to make, 300
Yeah, I know,
million
but do it on the
dollars,
side.
Yeah.
He's still got all the other ones in play.
Yeah.
I mean,
He's
talk
booked
about
out
laser
for the next
focus.
5
Like he's making more movies than Ridley Scott.
Yeah, I
He is
know.
a busy man.
Yeah,
He's got
so
a lot on his plate.
I'd just love to see him do something where he's stretched acting wise, because he's capable. He's
Does the
really
sequel to The
capable.
Lobster, Robbie.
Rampage is right in that pocket. It's exactly what I said to you before. I watch Rock movies and I really enjoy him and I really enjoy the movies, but he still hasn't really
He hasn't
got
got a
an
Predator
absolute
or
gem.
a Die Hard or
He hasn't got a
anything.
classic.
But he's
under
got
the belt.
Skyscraper coming up. So. Fuck,
that looks bad.
Surely that's his Die Hard, isn't it?
No,
Yeah,
it
I think
looks
that's where his
bad.
career might die. Anyway, I got onto Ready Player One as well.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved it. I've read the book, and the book had some problems. Had some quite hefty problems. People have, ripped it apart. As, when something becomes popular, everybody's got to start ripping it apart. So there is some things in there about bad writing, and there's this, hero kind of... there's this wish fulfillment that the lead guy has all this useless geek knowledge that all of a sudden is now
Useful.
relevant. So you're the hero because you've got all this knowledge. I actually think the movie fixed some of it.
Is the book badly written?
It's got elements that are badly written. Like sometimes there's chunks of it where he's just rattling off Easter egg after Easter egg. And one of the widely circulated ones was when he talks about his car, and his car is just like the DeLorean, but I changed the number plates to be like Ecto, like the Ghostbusters, and then it's got this on it and that on it, and it's just all
Too
about
much.
Yeah, it's too much. But in the movie, they actually kind of fix some of it. They change a lot of things, but they widen the references. Like, for example, in the book, that he goes on and on about the band Rush,
Yeah.
and how the creator loved Rush. So it's pretty clear that Ernest Cline loves Rush,
Yeah.
and it's too focused on that. So Spielberg opens it up and doesn't stick strictly to the 80s, changes the challenges, and it's just a fun Spielberg adventure. I mean, even with a lot of people that tore the book apart, even admitted when they read it, it was a fun adventure.
Yeah.
And I think that's what translates, and Spielberg made some really good decisions about what to cut out. So yeah, I was a big fan.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it.
I'll have to check that out.
Westworld season 2.
Oh, yeah,
a
is
couple
that-
of
is that
episodes
good?
in. Yeah, it's I'm still enjoying it. It's a lot slower to
Heard
kick
that.
off than the first season. I'm still not really sure where it's all heading at the moment.
Is there a lot of jumping back and forth on timeline at the moment too?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
So
okay.
I'm still in. Like, it hasn't lost me at all, but it's certainly slowed down a bit. And the last one, it's kind of a hefty chunk
Casual.
of movies. I watched every Marvel movie in the Marvel
All
Cinematic
18 of them.
Universe before going to watch Infinity War.
That's a fair
That's a
fucking
slog.
whack. Did you do it in
Yeah.
order?
I did it in order, yeah.
You're a legend.
What are the top 3?
Well, look, I've ranked them. I'll give you my ranking,
ranking.
and I'll tell you
Well,
why.
1 through 18.
1 through 18. At the moment, I'm leaving Infinity War out because I'm
Yeah.
still kind of processing it. And at the moment, it'd probably sit at the top because I got caught up in the spectacle.
It's an
But I
incomplete
reckon-
until the next one.
I reckon when I watch it again, it probably wouldn't be at the top. Down the bottom, Hulk, Iron Man 2, Thor: The Dark World. I actually wasn't a huge fan of Doctor Strange upon rewatch. It was just sort of in there. It's kind of on the level Thor, Doctor Strange, Avengers 2, Ant-Man. They're all kind of together.
Yeah.
Captain America. I actually quite enjoy Captain America. Guardians 2. Iron Man. And did you know Tony Stark drops a thrill me in Iron Man?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, there you go.
Nice.
Easter egg.
I
Yes,
actually...
he's listening.
So hang on, we're talking Iron Man 1 is that low, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Where at? Ranked where?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
It's kind of middle of the road. I actually had Iron Man 3 ahead of Iron Man 1 on
really?
rewatch. Iron Man 3 is
Iron Man
classic
3.
Shane Black, and it's actually one of the more interesting looks at a character in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
It's the first one where, like, oh, holy shit, Tony Stark's suffering anxiety.
He's
And
got
actually
PTSD
explores his
stuff.
character a little bit. There's some really great stuff with him and the little kid. And if you're not attached to the Mandarin, that twist's fucking great.
Yeah, no,
it's
I
great.
didn't
funny,
like
yeah.
Guy
It's
Pearce's character, but I love Iron Man 1. That's the thing I was asking.
Iron Man
One of
1
the-
is excellent.
And one of the more interesting things could have happened with Shane Black talking about how he couldn't make the woman the villain. He wanted to make the woman the villain, but he wasn't allowed because they wouldn't sell toys or something like that.
Wow.
So that watching it with that in mind, I actually really enjoyed it more. But anyway, it's the top end is heavily with Phase 3 at the moment because I've only still experiencing them. But yeah, so I had Iron Man 3, then I had Avengers, Spidey Homecoming, Civil War, Black Panther, Guardians 1. I'm a huge fan of Guardians 1.
Fair enough.
Winter Soldier, number 1 for me. I fucking love the Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier was.
Winter Soldier's fantastic, and it's the first one where I watched it and I'm like, wow, it's really cool that Captain America's got a shield because everything else he's doing fuck all with the shield. The Winter Soldier, he's flinging that thing around. Like,
Is that
it's
the one
awesome.
where he has that massive blue in the elevator?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Does anyone else want to get off?
With the stun sticks, he's like, this is going to go down, guys.
And the other thing I really loved about the Winter Soldier is, it's for me, I think it's the best Black Widow one.
Yeah.
She gets a really cool relationship.
Hey, is that
with
the one?
Captain
Is that
America.
also got Frank Grillo in it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Frank Grillo.
Yeah, I love Frank.
And then he comes back as Crossbones
Yeah.
in Civil War. So
She's going to get her own movie now too. They're saying
Yeah.
that they're doing a Black Widow film finally.
yep. So I think the Cap ones are probably the collection of Cap ones is probably my favourite if I had to pick the characters. So there you go.
So,
It was a long
That's a
way.
nice long go, at least,
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, there was a couple of action scenes that got 1.5. That sped things up significantly over the course of 36 hours.
Just like the whole of Elm Street 3 for now.
As long as the volume's there, you can still understand what they're saying.
all right, well, let's take a break. Here's the trailer for A Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors.
It's 1987. Do you know where Freddy is? There's no waking up from this nightmare. A Nightmare on Elm Street, Part 3, Dream Warriors.
Starts Friday, February 27th at a theater near you. Consult local listing.
A Nightmare on Elm Street 3: Dream Warriors from 1987, directed by Chuck Russell, who gave us The Blob and The Scorpion King. Produced by Robert Shea, who was the head of New Line Cinema at the time, and executive produced by Wes Craven. The story was by Wes Craven and Bruce Wagner, and the screenplay was by Frank Darabont, who gave us The Shawshank Redemption. Chuck Russell,
tell.
Wes Craven, and Bruce Wagner. Yeah.
Fucking Darabont must roll over at his bed at night just... What? Oh.
Mate, this got him in the biz, mate. Don't,
No
don't
wonder he
knock this.
depended. He pretty much wrote Shawshank Redemption off the short story.
He did, yeah.
He's pretty much, it's like word for word.
Yeah. But, like, you'd want to have your name
Christ,
struck
dude.
from the record on this, wouldn't you?
No, I don't think so. It stars Heather Langenkamp as Nancy Thompson, Craig Wasson as Neil Gordon, Patricia Arquette as Kristen Parker, and Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. Budget was a slim $4.5 million, and it made $44 million in the US.
Good old horror movies.
Cottage
They'll always make
industry.
you money.
In the original script, one of the characters dreams up a giant Transformer-style robot to fight Freddy. This sequence even made it to the storyboarding stage, but was dropped due to budget constraints.
For the best, I think.
For the better, yes.
It would have been a cardboard box robot. It looked like something out of fucking...
Optimus Prime.
It would have been done with stop motion.
it would have looked like Power Rangers. Yeah.
Okay,
That was a big part of it.
Jared,
Yeah,
kick us off, mate.
Look, I'm
You're gonna love it,
biased,
aren't you?
obviously.
You sick
No,
bastard.
look, this is the best Elm Street for me. It's funny because I'm not going to give it as high a score as Part 1, but this is probably my favourite Elm Street. The reason is because it found the balance between Freddy being a quipping fucking pain in the ass that he was from parts 4 through 6, but it actually had a couple of the moments that were still pretty scary, and Freddy was still on the periphery. He wasn't in every fucking scene. So I think they got that quite right. It's the first one to explore things like Hypnosil
and his mother
and his mother and his the thing about how Wes Craven built this stuff around nightmares, but this is the first one to bring in sometimes you're the fucking hero of your dreams.
Yeah.
I think getting Wes Craven back involved with it was a masterstroke, because part 2 didn't really add anything to the mythology at all. It kind of
No, it didn't.
It fucking shat all over. It just blew it up. It just said, this is Freddy's mythology. Yeah, we're not going to pay attention to that. We'll do all this other stuff and bring him into the real world. And so this one sort of squarely got us back on track before we really fucking went flying off the rails later on.
Yeah, true.
Shit, man. If it gets worse than this, I'm in
It
trouble.
gets much
It
worse
does.
than this.
Way worse than this.
Look, I'm trying to temper it and give it a 3.5, which I think is probably fair for me and the nostalgia and how I feel it goes in the series, and looking at it as a film. It is. It's probably a different experience for you blokes who haven't watched this thing 13 times and seen the different ways that they present Freddy. That this is probably the best that they've done it.
Yeah.
So
Give up.
first one's up there.
Give up.
I had seen this before, at least portions of it. Remembered some specific scenes. I didn't enjoy watching it today at all.
Fucking hell.
There's nothing even resembling a fucking plot. Like, you come in cold on just stuff happening to people, and like, unless you'd seen the previous movies, you wouldn't know what was going on. The acting is fucking abysmal. Some of the effects are actually pretty good on the budget they were working with. Some of them are poor, but some of them are actually pretty believable. I liked the, bastard son of a fucking 100 maniacs sort of thing. That backstory.
That was creepy shit.
That backstory is cool, and then when you find out, things about who his mum was and everything, that's all good, but the movie just doesn't make sense. The whole Dream Warrior thing, we've all got these powers in the dreams, and like 2 of them ever get to use their powers to any effect whatsoever. It just...
And then they get fucked up anyway.
It was, like, I'm a dream wizard, and he gets like...
That was one of my likes.
That's one of my dislikes. How I like the film.
If you've got the nostalgia stuff, it's probably good. Like I agree with Jared. Some of his one-liners and his little almost being quippy Freddy and stuff's probably good. And I agree with you guys. There's way worse movies after this that they made, but
4 to 6. All I can say is 4 to 6.
4 to 6.
Just because they're worse doesn't mean this is good. I gave this a 2. It was rough.
I'm with Jared at 3.5. I've got nostalgia for this. I pestered my parents. I was fucking 13 years old. I pestered my parents to let me go and see
Is
this.
it R-rated?
It was R-rated. I managed to get in. It scared the fucking shit out of me. I had a very, very nasty nightmare that night.
Yeah.
I got up to go to the toilet, came back, as I was walking back in, I swear Freddy was standing in the window,
Yeah.
and I
Jumped out.
lost my mind.
So you've got ongoing trauma with this one.
Baggage here. I got a lot of baggage. But and I'd like to thank my parents for being so
Open-minded and scarring you for life.
I can just imagine your dad going, just let me talk to your mum, and then going to the next room and go, what the fuck is he talking about? What's this fucking movie? He's talking about a nightmare or
Just
something like that.
shut up and let him go. And stop talking about
His revenge. Freddie Mercury.
I enjoy this film. I personally think that this is, like Jared, it is probably the best they got Freddy. The first one, he was barely in it, and he was in the shadows, but it kind of worked for what it was supposed to be, that he was meant to be sort of...
That was the
dark and
Jaws version of...
But by this stage, he had become a cottage industry. The second one had made him much more sort of prominent, and they had nowhere to go. They couldn't go backwards, so they had to make Freddy quipping and being on lunchboxes and all that shit that they were doing, and I think they at least got the balance reasonably right here. I actually think some of the dream sequences are really good, personally. I think the guy made like a marionette is fucking excellent.
That one was
a
a good
really
one.
cool idea,
Yeah.
and everything about it works. The opening sequence...
Wait a minute. Not everything about it. Him standing in the window, just flailing his arms about when there's
It's worse when he's walking up the corridor and he's trying to pretend he's a puppet, and
when he thinks he's a Thunderbird.
Yeah, the idea behind that, and the execution for the most part. I mean, it's pretty
The look
hard.
of it is pretty awesome.
pretty hard to get it.
I will get to some problems with the whole suicide thing,
Yeah.
but that one works because of his sleepwalking, because of all that.
I've got a massive problem with that
really,
one later on.
I
that we'll
thought
get
it
to.
worked really well. But there's another one that's just, how could you possibly have come to suicide?
She ran and jumped with her face.
But I think there's some really creepy and interesting imagery in amongst it all. And I think Freddy is still a character that I kind of enjoyed watching. After this, we lost the plot and Freddy became God only knows what.
That's where Transformers and shit would have fit in.
Yeah, they would have fit in.
With Super
But
Freddy.
I liked it. It's 3.5 for me.
Video game Freddy.
I gave the first one 4, and I still think the first one is better.
Yeah, as a movie,
I
it's
think the
probably
first one's
better, but this one's probably my favourite. That's the way I
But the
put it.
first one's got that creepy edge.
Yeah.
Because Freddy looks really weird and different in the first one.
And he's more of he's just a presence that's off to the side. Like I said, that's like the Jaws thing where you know something's there but you don't know what it is.
And he's always in shadow. It's partially to cover the makeup, but
in this one, he's always jumping out of walls, or he's like a fucking snake head eating someone like a slug.
there's a lot more to him in this one.
He's always present. So anyway, what do you think, Matty?
I thought that this was like overly blocked. It was transdimensional. It was telegraphed ridiculousness. It was really stylistic. I felt like it was a shit version of a Tim Burton movie, but
Hang on, have you seen Tim Burton's last fucking 15 films? There's some bad stuff in there.
Probably very similar to this, though, to be honest.
And to be honest, like before I sat down to actually watch them, I guess my idea of Freddy was Dude with the Claws. Like I hadn't really paid much attention to the mythology behind it, but fuck, he's a dirty character, isn't he?
Yeah.
Like a
Fucking filthy, man.
old pedo that has been burnt to death and decides to come back to life, and he's the son of 1,000 fathers and 100 fathers. whatever.
100.
It's not
188.
pleasant. It's not a pleasant life.
Yeah. So there's like good bits in it, but oh man, I found like I reckon that Robert Englund had a lot of feedback in how he was going to play Freddy, and I think there was way too much of Freddy in it. My idea of Freddy being good is him in the shadows in the background.
Have a little look
and
at
not knowing where he's going to come.
a little look at part 4 and 5 and tell me.
I'll get back to you.
Do some homework on the next couple of
So
weeks.
you guys
come
are
back
giving this
to
a better grade because the other ones are shit, though.
No, but it's to me, there's legitimate
this is
parts
legitimate
of it.
work.
And
for me.
to be honest, you laughed about the Frank Darabont stuff. I watched it and I'm like, this is where I see Frank Darabont that you don't fucking see anywhere else in the series. That you just got other writers outside of Wes
With
Craven,
more
like part 2.
sense.
It's like they didn't even watch part 1.
Yeah.
You know,
They
part
remade
two,
the
just-
same movie, which is...
Yeah, they made the same movie, but then broke the rules that they made in part 1 and did all this weird shit.
2's terrible.
But part 3 actually had...
2's got some magic. The dance
Well-handed stuff.
yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Man, that's my scariest thought from when I was a teenager is bringing a girl into my actual room. That scared the shit out of me.
No, I'm actually a big fan of part 2 as a kind of experience to watch now with that knowledge that they didn't have at the time. I still think that's a funny movie to watch. But I think this one's actually.
But what do you
one
give
of the
this
best
out of 5
handled.
though? Matty?
Me, 1.5.
1.5.
Yeah.
Lower than Gibbo. That's.
I didn't. Oh yeah. Well, I watched it in a hurry too. It was. Yeah, it was a bit painful in parts, but it's got that. I guess the leprechaun charm. Like there's funny shit in it.
Leprechaun charm. Glowing reviews across the board, everybody.
Oh, dear.
Look, for me, starting off the likes, I at least like the fact that they tried to tie each person's death to their dream issue or their power or whatever.
Their baggage that they had,
because in the previous films, none of that had been done. So nobody was connected to anything, even if it was they had baggage. So like in the other films, they all had baggage too, but it was never used against them. It was just
there.
like they were killed. Whereas this one at least linked it up to, like Philip was into making marionettes and he was a sleepwalker. Tara was into drugs and, there'd been those issues. The other girl used to burn herself to stay awake. Those things were then used to kill them. Which
And you can see at some parts that they've come up with a cool kill and gone backwards.
Yeah.
But it's still, it's better than just,
We'll
Killing
just
them
stab them to
generically.
death. Or in the fourth one, we'll kill him with a waterbed.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Magic.
Blood fountain.
Now we're playing with power.
Oh, yeah. The
Power
power
glove.
glove. Brilliant. Get to 6. It's on Netflix. You get it for free. And so is 4. 4's also on Netflix.
They'll
Mate,
get in the box.
they're
They'll
free.
get in the
Still
box.
don't watch them.
Watch it.
Freddy is positively restrained compared to those others.
Yeah, true.
Can I get to an early like?
Yeah.
In the opening credits, Larry Fishburne.
Who the fuck is Larry Fishburne? I refuse to acknowledge the man as Larry Fishburne.
That is so good.
I don't think he wants you to know who Larry Fishburne is. I believe he gets very upset.
Early Lawrence. I'm going to go as Larry.
Don't go as Larry, mate.
Laughing Larry Fishburne.
He looks back at it as the movie that fucking made him change his name. So he's obviously a fan as
He
well.
made that just for $1. He's like, shit. In the corridor.
He's clearly the most talented of the younger actors.
Well,
Yeah,
because none of them
personally,
can act it.
You said the acting was poop, and it is.
Yeah.
But this is a better cast than any of the other films.
Well, it's got
People that end up being better
yeah, it's
later
got
on.
people that ended up being good actors, but Patricia Arquette is pretty rough.
Yeah.
But
She's very
Fishburne's
young.
Fishburne is showing some
I actually
talent.
think the other doctor, the male doctor, is actually not too bad.
Well, I've seen him in other stuff too.
Yeah, I've seen
He
him
went
in
on to
other
do some other
things.
things.
And John Saxon's always
The
nice to have.
female doctor is
The lady, older one.
she's the mum from Carrie. She's
good.
she's not Sissy Spacek.
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
the other one.
Yeah.
I was like, I know your face.
Yeah, the acting's better. It's not great, but it's better than any of the other
Dude,
films.
Nancy
mate.
in this is
Stale.
fucking abysmal.
Yeah, she's
She's reading off the page.
Yeah.
I want to do this.
She's
now.
really bad.
And she was never she never did it for me acting wise.
Yeah, I mean, she's really bad here.
Yeah.
She's actually at her best when in the New Nightmare.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
her best performance.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I actually like, and this is where having the grounding in the series probably works, but for us and the score, the intro with the paper mache house, it's very reminiscent of Freddy making his glove.
Yes.
There's a couple of shots where it's just like him making his glove in the first one.
Arts and crafts.
So that was
scary
pro-
stuff.
Yeah, those are a little
What I'm
bit
saying is,
more
like-
sanitised than these.
The way that she's making, she's putting the house together, and you get the sense that it's the Freddy house. It's a nice little intro to the character to say, okay, well, this is the girl that kind of knows something's going on here. But of him in his workshop hammering his glove and making the pieces, there's a couple of little shots there that remind you of that.
Yeah.
And it's a little callback to say, okay, well, maybe these people actually watched the first
At least they have some idea.
Somebody's watched the first one.
yeah, and then it leads straight into her dream in his house. And
Yeah.
as you said, I fucking love the imagery of the
Yeah.
little kids on the bikes.
And the
Yeah.
tune.
Oh, is it Freddy's home?
Yeah, and it's this is where a lot of that stuff's implied. You just get the sense of what's going on there. And
That was
into
surreal.
the-
That was a bit surreal.
yeah,
to
she
start
walks
movie
into that
off.
room with the hanging bodies,
And
and they're all
I
teenagers.
really love the
and-
bit where she gets stuck in the mud.
Yeah,
And it's in slow mo, and you just see him come charging around the corner, and he comes right at her.
Yeah.
I really like that actually, and he's coated in shadow the whole way. Like you can't actually really see his face.
Yeah.
You can just see the glove.
But everyone's had that nightmare where they're trying to run
can't
away
run.
from
You
something
can't
or run
run.
to something and you can't get through it.
exactly.
And then it
But
ends with
she
her
doesn't look
going-
like she's really trying though. She's sort of just moving
Yeah.
her feet up
Yeah.
and down in some wet paint.
But there's a couple of those moments of relatability to your own dreams.
And then it ends with the little girl going, "Put me down." She looks down, and she's just
Yeah.
a corpse.
But when she's running with it too,
Yeah.
she's clearly just like a
Yeah.
Cabbage Patch Kid.
Yeah.
Because she picks up the little girl and then she's running. There's just like a fucking. It's a little wig with a dress
But
on.
I actually think the best bit of that entire dream sequence is when she wakes up, goes into the bathroom, and it goes.
The tap is
yeah,
cool.
and then the other one goes.
The old double dream. That's like
And he's
Yeah, the
in the
double
mirror,
layers.
yeah.
and it all comes back to what she's just done. She's just slashed her wrist, you know.
Yeah.
So I thought that entire package, the double dream thing, was really good, and the imagery was excellent.
The tap grabbing hold of her though, that
That
put me
looks pretty dusty too.
straight into like Tim Burton territory.
Yeah, that
the
was-
stop motion like Play-Doh
Yes,
fucking
yes.
animation stuff. You're like,
Definitely.
oh
And the
no.
claws coming out of the second tap.
And then turns into a little glove.
But then I sort of liked that it turned into she's just standing there with the razor blade. Like I think they were like they're trying to switch the mythology a little bit of
Yeah.
what happens in your dreams will affect you in real life to what happens in your dreams
You
is
manifest
controlling
to
you.
yourself, yeah.
That's right. So I think
Which
they'll
I like
try and
that.
make it more believable,
Yeah.
which I like, but then they just completely go away from it later on.
Yeah, later on
because
he's
the-
carving stuff into the bloke's
then-
chest,
yeah.
like
yeah,
messages
and then
things.
she cuts herself when she's in Nancy's has the cut hand when she comes
From
back.
the
So they
mirror.
sort of
Yeah, they
forget-
kind of undo it a little bit after
yeah.
they've started.
Yeah, a little bit
well with it.
inconsistent.
Yeah.
I would have preferred that. You're right though, like where it's actually that you do something and then you wake up and you're like burning your hand or
Yeah.
something like that with a lighter or
You can explain that with a bit of maybe it's a bit of the Exorcist thing, the suggestibility of this could happen, so maybe
Yes.
it manifests itself in a...
Just because you're seeing Freddy Krueger and he's got gloves on, bladed glove, does not mean that you're going to wake up with 4 things raked through your body.
Yeah.
It means you're going to do something to
that's
yourself
right.
because you're not actually
If
awake.
it was the first
You
one
can't-
and you've turned into a
And
marionette...
you're having a nightmare, so all
Your
you're
feet and your
thinking-
hands would be a bit fucked up, like, and then people could see that. Like,
Yeah. I think the practical effects, as you said, are pretty damn good for $4.5 million.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Most of them
the
are
budget is
very
ridiculous.
effective.
What
Pretty
they've done
effect
with the
heavy.
budget.
Like, there's a lot of effects.
Yeah.
Even just when you think about the money they would have had to spend to make the house look like that, and then they've got effects like that friggin' tunnel that Joey's hanging over.
Yeah.
Like, for the amount of effects, it's pretty
The
good.
giant slug thing that he
the
does
Freddy worm.
when he comes out the TV.
Do we want to go over? Are we going to go over the formations of Freddy? I made a list of whether I liked it or not. the different manifestations of Freddy. Okay.
Freddy Worm's
So we
got
got
the penis.
We
remember
got
the
the
Freddy
tap.
worm
The tap
looked
is good.
better.
Yeah.
I like the tap. We've got the worm version of Freddy.
Freddy Worm, yep.
Yeah, we've got where he turns into a putty version.
Yeah, the little
And
and
then
then
the
Claymation, yeah.
Yeah,
I called that the Gumby.
Yeah.
Gumby
the
one.
Gumby Freddy's
Gumby
good. We've got the puppet, the marionette one. We've got the robot. The TV turns into the robot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got
T800.
the centerfold that turns into Freddy.
Oh yeah, with the tongue.
Yeah, big tits. Probably that's how you're gonna remember her.
The nurse.
We'll get to that likely later on.
Big like those two.
We've got the finger injections Freddy.
Yeah.
We've got Kung Fu Freddy. We've got Skeleton Freddy.
Yep.
There's a fair few.
Yeah,
There's a lot.
And
There's
there's
a
all
lot.
got effects tied into them for $4.5 million.
I feel like in the first one, there's like he appears like 4 or 5 times. Like
Yeah.
Maximum.
It's I guess in terms of screen time is what I was saying about, like, he's still on the periphery. There's still large stretches where he's not there.
yeah.
Whereas down fucking part 6, within 2 minutes he's on the screen
He's
like
never
a
on a
broomstick,
on a
for
fucking
fuck's sake.
broomstick.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man,
Yeah.
how did we get here?
What I said before at the start is the reason behind it. Is the first one they didn't know what they had. So Freddy was in the background.
He's
and
their
it was
cash cow.
all about what Wes Craven decided he wanted him to be.
Yeah.
He just wanted him to be this boogeyman in the background.
Yeah.
By this stage, he was a cash cow.
Well, this stage he was
I mean,
the
they
star.
called it New Line Cinema was called the House of Freddy built.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know,
He was their Ninja Turtles.
yeah. So by this stage, they had no choice, and they did a good enough job, I think, to keep him off the screen as much as they actually did.
Yeah,
could
and
have
things
been
like the
10
Freddy
times.
worm. I remember the Freddy worm being more prominent.
Did look like a penis.
It did, but it's only in there for a few. Like
Seconds.
it's very
It's still
short,
iconic,
30
though.
And
seconds.
That's
I
a
actually
really
like the
cool
way it
thing.
rears up, and it's full animatronic.
It looks
and it
not
goes,
bad.
You,
And that's-
you know.
That's like you use the word iconic in terms of Freddy's the way that he's appeared and the kills. This has got a couple of the best ones. This has got the marionette, which has survived the test of time, based on the little Freddy falling off the wall and then ripping the bloke's veins out. Which, whether you think the bloke's acting performance of trying to pretend he's a marionette is good or not, the idea is one of the best. The Freddy worm is
couldn't make
iconic.
it up,
yeah.
Like there's parts here that work better than where they fucking by the next 3 they start really. I mean, the part 4 is where we get fucking turning the girl into a cockroach and
Yeah.
stupid stuff like that.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch that.
You've got to.
You got the box down.
I'll watch
I'm not
one a
accepting
week.
it. I'll go check all of them have been opened.
Any fingerprints on a Matty?
I'll watch one a week. I'll report back.
I do like, too, that in that opening dream sequence, they just give you the couple of the classic Freddy pieces. The skipping girls.
The rhyme,
Freddy
little
house.
kid on the trike.
The rhyme, yeah. You get those things very briefly.
And the
but
furnace.
again, it's showing you we actually did watch the first film.
Yeah.
So we know where we're at. We know where things
There's
are
no
at.
silly bus trick in this one.
Yeah.
Just ticking boxes for the criteria to be on this podcast again. Kristen delivers a hellacious kick to the Jats to the doctor.
I thought it was Lawrence.
Yeah.
Fishbird's balls.
It's the doctor.
It's the doctor.
He gets cut.
Dr. Gordon.
And then
He gets that is. I reckon
Yeah.
that's legit. I reckon she legitimately kicks
He
him.
fucking- he
The
folds-
feels mate, 'cause he goes down like
he
a bag
folds
of
like the
shit.
fucking back page of Mad Magazine. He's down. He's just,
Just before that scene, she walked over and she said, "Are you a method actor?" She's kicked him in the jats and dropped him.
Is there a nut shot in Gladiator?
Yeah,
Yes.
there's a nut squeeze.
he's a squeeze.
Yeah, look, We are on a 100% tear of balls being
Nut shots.
squeezed or kicked.
That's why my reference to the.
Because there's a nut kick in
Are
there.
you a method actor? Because Oliver Reed went up to the bloke he was going to grab on the nuts. He didn't know he was going to do it, and said, "Are you a method actor?" And then held his nuts the whole scene.
Between takes.
In between takes, held him as well, having a normal conversation with the bloke, just holding his nuts.
Couldn't you sue? You could sue.
Definitely sexual assault.
That's assault.
Yeah.
Sexual, physical.
Mate, you don't know about Oliver Reed, do you? He did not give any fucks.
The lawyers will turn up and say, we've got a lawsuit, and he'll say, don't tell me what to do, drop his pants.
Oliver Reed also did that on a set. He turned up drunk to a read for a part, and they said, "No one tells me what to do," and took his dick out. Oliver Reed was a loose cannon.
Show him.
Yeah, he really proved a point.
That bloke gets kicked heavily in the jets.
I reckon he called it.
It's a front kick. It's not like a lifting cunt,
I reckon
but it is a front kick to the jab.
He couldn't work for a good hour.
A bit of swelling in the crutchal region.
He was not able to do any seeds. But also, Nancy's cracking a very impressive perm. 87 perm. But so is the other doctor. He's got a lovely sort of
nice
ringlets. Yeah, he's doing a very nice job there.
I had that in my notes. Nancy's. I had a comment. Her hair is the real horror story.
Yeah.
Does she have a grey patch
got,
because of previous?
Yeah, because the last meeting.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
and she's also got shoulder pads. Yeah, shoulder pads.
I thought you were going to say dandruff when you pointed to your shoulder. You sort of did the brush off thing, or you were going to say she's got a bit of dandruff?
Shoulder pads going. She's got the whole package going.
It was the 80s.
You were transported back in time.
I know, my
Those are
mum
the
looked like
days.
that once back in the 80s. I'm
When
sure.
girls were really pretty. The 80s.
The only hairstyle that's worse than this is the one that the doctor has in Roadhouse when she goes on the date
yeah.
with the fucking blowout wings.
Is that kind of like a woman's mullet or something in the
It's
Roadhouse?
double side mullet. I don't know what you'd call it.
Good.
Yeah. Did anyone else love Kincaid?
Yeah.
That bloke is the best.
He's an ordinary actor, but he had some of the best lines.
It's not about his acting. Yeah, he just
Fuck you, he said.
fuck you. Like just gets fired up.
I'm not going to sleep, you fucking.
Yeah, that's right. Then, like, you know, at the end when they're trudging around Freddy's house, where are you at, Freddy?
The next minute, a fucking door turned. He's like, "Oh, hang on, I'm not going through there."
Yeah, I just said, look, I'm sorry. That's not
Yeah, I like it in group therapy. He's the one that's just fucking telling it like it is.
Yeah.
He has the least lines, but he's just telling everyone straight up, you know, you're a fucking...
And even after
you
the
do
bloke,
drugs,
even
you're
after the
an
bloke
idiot,
jumps,
you're-
the marionette fella dies. He's like, the guy couldn't fucking hack it. He basically just killed himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he's basically going along the lines of the suicide.
Yeah.
Rather than going with the Freddy's around gig. But yeah, I liked him, strangely enough, because initially
He was the most entertaining
when he first
character in the
came
whole
on
show.
screen, he delivers a couple of lines. I was like, oh fuck,
This guy's going to be hard work.
this guy's terrible. But he leads into it.
I get a bunch of giggles from him.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
he's popular enough. He's one of the few characters to come back in the series.
Yes,
so.
true.
Oh, really? Is he?
Yeah, he's back in the next one.
Okay.
He was. I think he could have been one of the Furious Five. Grandmaster Flash. He was the sixth.
Yeah, the message.
Could have
You're a
been.
boat-faced pussy. I actually think, and it's hard. I understand, as you know, these films go. It's hard to say Elm Street films are well written in any sense, but working around the centerpieces of I have to get this many people and I have to set them up to be killed. I think Darabont's kind of fingerprints that you can see them at certain points. You can see them like initially when they first go to the hospital. The doctor walks down the hall and we get very quick intros to Larry Fishburne and we get intros to three of the kids.
No, we've got to call him Larry for the whole duration.
We get Kristen brought in to understand that she's coming into this, and then that's done in the space of about 30 seconds, and it's or 30 seconds to a minute, and it's pretty straightforward. And then they get the group session, which again, this is how we're going to introduce the rest of them. It's a kind of it fits, it works for the setting that it's in.
Yeah.
And the parts about the backstory, I think they're well written as well. The backstory is we're not going to flashbacks, we're not doing that sort of shit.
Yeah.
It's just reserved and it's told by a ghost, which sounds fucking ridiculous. But then you think the whole movie is based around a ghost, a boogeyman. So
Yeah. It's a bit convenient that it's, you're the last children of Elm Street. It's a bit convenient. How come they don't know each other?
Yeah.
Outside of that.
Also,
Or
how come
people
they're
haven't connected
the
that?
age
And-
differences are so...
well, it's because it's related to. It's not necessarily that they
They
live
weren't in
on
the
Elm
same
Street.
class or
Yeah,
anything like
so
that.
Their parents were involved.
They were involved in burning him alive.
So
they could have been all different age
elsewhere. They
brackets.
could have been. But you're right. It would have been.
It's a bit of a. It's
A couple of them might.
See, the
But it
remake,
helps
the
explain
remake
what's
tried
going
to have the whole. They were all in the same class, and they were all.
And they'd all forgotten.
They'd all
which was
forgotten.
fucking-
Yeah, it was
which
like
was where you
suppressed
made
memories
the
and shit.
mistake.
That's
So
it.
this one doesn't
Yeah.
try to do that. I think that they did a nice job here of at least, you know.
The other thing though is that's inferred. Not inferred. That's your. They never broach it.
Yeah.
So that's something that you got out of it.
Yeah.
I got that a couple of them look like they do know each other, and you don't know whether that's from here or you're assuming it's from the hospital.
Well, obviously the Joey and the guy who plays Dungeons and Dragons, you know,
Yeah.
they seem to have a
pretty well.
relationship.
They
They
go to
have a
school
relationship with the drug girl.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
there's cliques, which makes me believe then some of them must have known each other, or either that or they've been there longer.
I just thought they'd been in
Yeah, they
there
might
for
have been
quite a
longer.
while. It just seemed weird because I guessed, I don't know if this is actually said in there, but I've had it about 4 to 6 years window between Nancy's one and this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So
they
then-
actually. Yeah, I think they actually said. I think she says 6
6 years, okay, yeah.
Maybe.
So then there's that. So then how would Nancy's group have been kids of Elm Street, and then these guys are kids of Elm Street as well, but they're 6 years later? Like, it just...
because their parents.
Yeah, it's all about the parents.
The
They could have been their
parents were
younger
around when they
sisters,
killed-
you know, younger kids.
So their parents were in the community group
Oh,
that
okay.
did it. So their parents could be different ages. Their parents could be.
So there's no reason that
A
these
different
kids
number
wouldn't
of
have been
kids,
targeted when they were younger
Yeah.
when Freddy came back the first
No,
time.
yeah.
Which is why, I mean, initially there's that deleted scene that only just came out recently that shows in the first one that Nancy's mother explains to her that you all had siblings that were killed before you were even aware of it.
The whole generation.
And that's why we killed Freddy, and everyone, Johnny Depp and that dickhead, I can't remember his name.
Ron Lane.
Yeah.
Up yours, my favourite line of the entire series.
Yeah, so they all had
That's a cracker.
brothers or sisters or whatever that Freddy had killed.
Yeah.
But while he was alive.
Yeah,
Yep.
so looking at this one, it makes sense that they dropped that because it broadens the field a little bit. It's basically just there's never really an indication of how many people were there, who was who did it. It's just the town of Springwood.
Yeah.
So it kind of works that there's never any definition of how many people did it, how many people killed him. It's just we did it, and that's why you're getting killed. You're suffering for our sins,
Yeah.
even though he was an evil.
So
And
it
I
gives them a
think,
carte
I think
blanche
at
of
the
what they can
very
do.
least, as there's not a lot to this, but I actually kind of like the fact that she could bring people into the dreams, and they did have, as you say, powers. You could be the hero of your own dream, because it was something different.
Yeah,
To the first two films, like the first two films, you either brought him out into the real world, or you did nothing, or basically you just died.
Yeah.
You had no recourse
Yeah.
to the bloke.
And so
You stayed awake or you died.
That's
and if
Craven
you pulled
again.
him into the real world, you could kill him.
you can see Craven.
So this
thinking
one decided to
deeper
go
about it.
outside that a little bit, and they didn't bring him into the real world at all.
No,
in this one.
No, that's
He
So,
managed to.
at the very
At one
least-
point, he managed to bring himself into the real world, though. When
Yeah, he
other
does the
people were
skeleton.
asleep.
He does it as the skeleton as well.
Yes, true.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Which is one thing that I'd never really noticed that they just fucking conveniently forget what Freddy.
Do you think anyone will ask about
so.
this?
Why wouldn't you just do that all the time? Exactly. That's
Exactly.
stupid.
So that was to me that was
They kind of
I've jumped
blew a
on
little
the
bit of
dislikes
the mythology there, but I just like the fact that they went slightly off the track.
Well, it
to
made
the first two
it
films.
made the kills more interesting because you as you said, you tied it to each person individually. You're killing them with what they fucking enjoyed doing and or their baggage. You're making it more interesting in the dream world because they can find avenues to fight back. Although that's done to varying degrees.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Wes Craven thinking. I've talked about nightmares and shit, but sometimes you have good shit in your dreams that you can do as well. Sometimes you can fucking fly, or you can be a wizard.
Let's not lie.
Dunk a basketball.
Let's not lie.
I still can't do that big dream.
Everybody
Look at my superpower. I can do a flip.
every one of us has had the dream as the nurse.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
Pre
nurse.
the tongue incident.
There's a good chance I'll have a dream about
Yeah.
that nurse tonight, considering I watched that movie today.
Yeah.
They did a
So-
better job of it in Follows of the same thing.
Which bit?
The mum.
Oh, the... Ugh.
Now,
Top props to that nurse, though. That was quality. Got very happy with that though, because you never I couldn't. I'm assuming something's going to happen Freddy-wise, but they give you the bit where you can actually go, nah, that's just nice, and then she goes off the rails.
It's a bit bloody.
You can pause.
As far as 80s boobs go, they were like top 5 all time. 80s boobs in a movie.
Fair enough.
I haven't actually got a list.
I'm just guessing.
I'm sure you've got a list and it's laminated.
I haven't got a list on me.
He's rewatched 18 movies with boobs in them and ranked them.
It's definitely above Patsy Kensit in Lethal Weapon 2. I know that. So
They were okay though.
they're not bad. Just puffy nipples, weird.
Let's get back off on the track.
I didn't bring it up.
I brought it up. I shouldn't have.
You should know better. I'm in the room.
Yeah, I know. Philip's death, the marionette, I think is excellent. Personally.
I have a big issue with it.
My problem
but
with it is
it was cool though.
he should have just been walking along like this with his hands down, asleep, and sleepwalking. Instead of going like this, which even though he was being dragged like that, again the whole idea was if this is in your head, you're a sleepwalker.
Yeah.
You're just dawdling along like normal, like you were sleepwalking, and that's why no one gives two shits that you're walking past because they're like, oh, it's just Philip.
They're making comment about
Phil's
those
not
with your goofy walk or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
But
anyone
still-
explain to me with that? How come he can walk through a
Yeah,
door?
I didn't quite get that bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was.
I think that was kind of
again,
Freddy
stretching
carrying
the limits
through
a touch.
in the dream, but it was just, it didn't make sense because they were trying to then say,
A lot of it didn't make
they
sense.
actually
The
cut
other thing was...
to the girl at the nurse's station looking up and seeing him,
Yeah.
which is in reality.
Yeah,
And
she
in the
didn't see
dream,
him,
he's...
did she?
Well, she didn't see
I
him,
thought
but
she just kind of
they had the
focused-
shot of her, and then they kind of focus on him
Yeah.
in the background.
Yeah.
And that's in reality.
Yeah.
But then in the dream, he's going, and he's being dragged by his...
Essentially, the
mate.
door just shouldn't have been there because
Yeah.
then it brings up the questions of okay, so if you can do this stuff in the dream and then it affects you in the real world somehow, but not necessarily the.
How
way
can you
do it
walk
in
through the
dream.
door? You would just run
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, dog,
Yeah.
walk in the door, fall over.
So the door should have just been scrapped. Shouldn't have even been there.
But the only reason they had that is because it's like, oh, this kid was on a locked, secure ward
Yeah,
and
and
somehow
It
got
keeps-
out.
It keeps the other people from getting from him when they wake
And
up.
it also brings into question Gordon being like how good he is, like saying that like that gives him a reason to sack him because they're saying this is supposed to be all secure.
Get a
and-
fucking camera, Gordon.
yeah, security camera wouldn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
You're in a bloody-
So that tower that he jumps out of too, is that not the one where the nun's at the top of, which is like a closed wing and everything? Like there's no questions about how he got to the top of that.
I'm not
don't
sure.
know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
To me, it seemed that it was just the edge of the top of the building he was in.
Yeah, I took it as a
Okay.
different one.
Yeah.
Jeez, it looked the same
Looked
though.
a
That
bit
was
the
very
same.
It does.
confusing because when he looks up and sees the nun
Yeah.
in that thing, that's when he
And they
climbs
do the
up.
same kind of
Because-
shot, so they,
Because
it
I-
looks
I think it's the same building.
But I got the locations as different because that was at the cemetery.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah, it's in the cemetery
sees-
where the
holy
nun's
ground.
building is. I don't know. It's hard to tell.
I
But,
thought
yeah.
he looked up and she's in the same window as where they saw Philip
No,
doing the
I don't
jumping
think
out
so,
of the
but I
marionette
could
thing.
be wrong. It's really hard to tell.
Fuck, it was similar if it wasn't the same one.
Yeah, I got it as different locations, but it wasn't really clear. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But I just like that whole sequence. I just think that's clever in this world and this mythology that they have. That's a clever way of doing
It
it.
looked pretty cool. His feet
Right.
getting ripped apart.
Yeah.
That effect when he's walking past and does the
Yeah.
close shot of the veins hanging out the feet, that looked really good.
Yeah.
I was impressed with that one for sure. We already sort of touched on this, but in terms of like the iconic kills part of it, as someone that's not a huge fan of the Nightmare on Elm Street thing, like as soon as some of the sequences happened with kills in this, I knew what was going to happen. Like
Yeah.
you just like the Freddy worm we talked about, the head in the TV. Again, we got problems with that one, but it's an iconic kill, and it's sort of it makes sense with what the issues were with them. So that was good.
And this is where the,
What about the-
the quips that now are the welcome to prime time.
That
That's
was-
kind of okay.
That's an
As a
alright
quip
level,
goes,
yes.
We didn't get down
I
to
just
the
love the
depths
bit on
of-
TV though with Zsa Zsa Gabor.
How did they get her for this?
Who gives a
fuck what you think?
It's because the bloke who was doing it, Dick Cavett, he said, I want to put her on it because I would never interview her ever in any other concept, but we'll put her in here. She's fucking dumb as a box of hammers.
Yeah, well,
Put her in there.
that seems to be
I just
true.
like that. He goes, who the fuck asked you?
I really liked how Freddy would do that thing where they'd attack him in the dream and he'd be like, oh, I'm hurt. And then he'd be like, turn around and smile at you.
Yeah.
And then pull a bar out of his
Yeah.
stomach.
That's
like
Hulk Hogan's
Terminator
foot, mate.
2.
Yeah.
He's hulking up.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of cool. But the Terminator 2 death as well, where they think Nancy's chucked a pole through him.
Yeah.
And he pulls it out of himself. I'm
It
like,
did
He
look like
leaks
T1000.
it.
yeah. I was like, oh, that's what they're going
Then
to
he
do.
decides to show us what a scumbag he is by going,
licking it. Yeah.
I got a bit of the scumbag vibe when he's the Freddy Worm too, and he's eating Patricia Arquette.
Yes.
It's just a weird angle to come at a young lady, you know.
Yeah.
Very sketchy, and especially when it looks like a giant
I
penis.
do like the way they actually did that. They actually did that in reverse. So.
Oh, when she comes back out of it.
Yeah, no, when she's getting eaten.
Oh,
she's actually pulled out of it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They just reversed the footage.
Oh, yeah.
It looks
pretty
seamlessly
good.
cool.
Considering the like I've seen $100 million budgets with just as many issues on the effects side, so, and then his backstory, like, is that touched on much in the first two, like his mythology of how he came to be?
No, they only ever called him a child murderer.
Child murderer, yeah.
And they never mention at all what happened to his mother. So this is what I like about this. It took the mythology further forward, but not too far.
Yeah.
We weren't in all sorts of weird pieces. It was just that's where he came from. His mum was locked in a fucking sanitarium over a long weekend.
Yeah,
and raped
she had a bad time.
Raped by the crazies.
The mythology, like the biology of that whole situation doesn't really work because you only get fertilised by one person.
Yeah.
But when it's 100 psychos,
to say something like that.
Yeah, it's a cool line.
Yeah.
But either way, if they're all psychopaths, you don't really have a good strike rate.
No,
Exactly.
You're not getting the only non-psycho.
You're not going to be a fucking astronaut, are you? So,
So
But
this
it
is
kind
the
of touches
first
on
one.
why he was such a bastard, you know, you sort of come to the realisation that this sort of folds back into the type of person.
Yeah, that was all. It was all kind of deftly handled. I like the way that it was kind of where she was, and that's the explanation of why she was wandering around, and you know the way that they kind of at the end show that she was a ghost too, but they didn't go too far. They just had her say this happened to this young woman, and then it needs to be buried on hallowed ground. And you just kind of you don't
It's pretty easy
go
to work
overboard.
out, who she is, but it's a nice touch.
Yeah, I thought that was solid.
That's all I had for likes.
I do like the recreation of the first scene
Yeah.
when Mum comes home.
Yeah.
And then, where's the bourbon?
yeah.
I said, where's the fucking bourbon,
Bourbon's
bitch? And he just cuts it.
He gets a real potty mouth in this one.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
calling everyone a bitch.
Well, not a bitch.
He's holding the head up in front of her. And he's like,
You always ruin everything.
you always ruin everything. I can't bring a man
I was
around.
like, mate, you're talking a lot and you swear at every opportunity, but I guess you're
Sounds like me, actually.
child murderer anyway.
Not that part. Geez.
Yeah, you've already done, in my opinion. You swear all you want.
Your potty mouth is not your worst feature.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's like an overly aggressive thing for somebody who has that much power. Like, I don't think he needs to be swearing to still be scary.
Do
you know what I mean?
It's a cool thing to do for the kids at school.
It was the progression. It was the
Have you seen
progression.
that? Have you watched that Rick and Morty yet? This is the second episode.
I'm getting there. Yeah.
If you
I'll watch
haven't
the first
seen,
episode.
just go watch the second episode of Rick and Morty, and they harken back to this so badly, but it's hilarious. It's definitely worth watching. I'll leave it there. You should watch it.
I like.
If I've got to watch parts 4 through to 7, you should definitely watch Rick and Morty.
Seven's alright. The seven's okay. 4 through 6, yeah.
I actually think the death of Taryn, the girl with the drugs, that's another really good one. Because again, it ties back to her problems.
Yeah.
And it would have just ended in an overdose. They don't actually show what happens to her outside of the dream world. But,
Which would have made more sense as
Yeah.
the TV kill.
yeah.
She got a hold of the drugs and...
Yeah, just you wake up and she's just got a syringe in her arm and she's OD'd.
But,
You don't even ever see her dead, do you?
no, because it's all happening in the dream. Everyone's in the dream. But I just love that, the whole we're old friends, you and me.
Yeah.
And
He's basically heroin at that point.
Yeah, and he just goes, let's get high.
I didn't like
rush.
and her little mouths go.
The little suckling mouths.
That was weird. That was funny. Again, I feel like... No, that didn't kill me. That kill was annoying. For me, because, I found him scary when he was doing I'm going to slash you a little bit to make you scared. And when he was, teasing out the fear was way more powerful than, I've got you, I'm going to kill you really quickly in a really spectacular way, as opposed to I'm going to draw out the fear. When they were talking about the stuff like kids cutting at their eyelids because they didn't want to go to sleep, that was scary.
Yeah.
This was ridiculous.
And that was, that was the money making the decision there. That was where Freddy's the star, so we've got to have him saying things.
And we've got to do different things. You've got to do something different. It was like you said earlier, they were like, we've identified the kill and how we want to do it, now we need to come up with the script. But her whole character, chick that, I'm a punk now, and
yeah.
okay, asshole, let's
I'm a
dance.
badass with a mohawk and a pocket knife.
She looked like she was out of Labyrinth or something.
That's
and
my
then
secret power.
she looked like she was out of a bad film clip. Like,
Yeah.
let's tape our wrists together and have a knife fight.
She had
That was
glitter.
actually bullshit.
She had glitter
she's
on
got
her
bad
decolletage.
Yes, yeah,
Sorry, you're not a badass.
Wasn't
You got
working,
glitter on
no.
your chest, you dickhead.
But I just like the kill from the perspective of what where
no,
we
it's
were
good.
going
Yeah,
in
yeah.
this film. You did have a couple of duds. Like, I'm not going to lie, and they'll come up in the dislikes, but that one was one of the better ones for me.
Yeah.
I actually also liked, this is strange, it comes back to our discussion about The Exorcist. It's not quite The Exorcist, but the whole fact that Dr. Gordon throughout, he talks about science, talks about his science, you know. It's all,
yeah.
and then, but he uses faith to kill him. You know,
Yeah.
he goes to the, he goes and gets the holy water, he goes and gets the crucifix, and it ends up being what kills Freddy.
Yep.
Doesn't kill him. Doesn't kill him.
Well, yeah.
For the time being.
Don't even start.
It's only
with the
ever a
fucking stinger.
band-aid solution, Matty.
Jesus.
They'll never end it. They'll never end it.
Well, it's currently pretty.
It's currently pretty fucking
It's
empty.
8 years in the ground.
Nobody wants to have a crack at it.
I think the remake was made in 2000.
As soon as Halloween goes gangbusters, though, we'll get a Friday and an Elm Street to follow, hopefully.
We've got to ride the wave of Stephen King's being made, and then
Yeah, exactly. Once one of them's popular again, the other big franchises go, shit, we better get on board.
And I think it's only fair to say, look, Dokken, Dream Warriors, what a way to end.
Big like.
Little bit of 80s hair rock.
Love it.
Wow.
Magic.
Has anyone got any more
Not
likes?
quite Frank Stallone.
Watch the film clip. You double thumbs up.
Yeah. No, I had a few other things I liked, but yeah.
Yeah, I actually had... it doesn't actually come up as much in this one, but again, it's something they added to the mythology of the series that actually comes in and works down the track, is the Hypnosil.
Yes.
They don't use it much in this one, but it's been used to good effect in something like... When they brought it up in Freddy vs. Jason, it was kind of one of the few times again where they're like, okay, so someone's read the book on this series and knows what they're talking about and used it in an interesting way. But
They didn't really use Hypnosil well in this one, though, in
they didn't
terms of
use
actually.
it at all, really.
No.
It was
She's like,
more-
he says, I'll prescribe it. Can we get it in a couple of days? And then you don't
and then
really hear about
everything's
it
fucked,
anymore.
and they're like, this
Yeah.
is disgraceful. You're fired.
Yeah, I don't really understand. I understand why it's brought up, but it then just disappears.
Yeah.
Because initially he goes, no, I can't do that. Then he says, I'd like to prescribe Hypnosil. I don't see anyone take it.
Is Nancy only off the hook because she previously dealt with him, or is it because she's taken the Hypnosil? Is that why she wasn't
Yeah, it must have been
already
because she's
seeing
taken
She's on the
Hypnosil.
Hypnosil because it's dream depressants.
Yeah, okay.
So she's dealt with him, but she's still on the dream suppressant sort of. And then, I mean, in Freddy vs. Jason, the explanation is nobody knows Freddy because everyone that's had this affliction is on Hypnosil. So he's been forgotten.
And he's forgotten about it, so he doesn't have any power anymore.
Which led to, that would have been the bloody Peter Jackson script too. Why he was forgotten.
which
That
was
was an interesting
10 times
one.
better than Freddy.
But no, Peter Jackson, fuck, we don't need a script from him.
What's he done?
Who's this Peter Jackson bloke? Oh, look, he's nobody. Let's
'Cause
give
that one-
it to the ex-script supervisor who, you know,
Yeah.
they really
I still hope they do that in like
Yeah,
a
in some
comic form
form.
or something. Because that was the one where Freddy was like a fucking... Everyone treated
It was
him
a
like
joke.
shit. No one
People
was
used to
scared of him. So
go
people
into
would go to
dreams just to
sleep
kick
and
the
dare
shit
each
out of
other
him.
to beat him up and shit like
And
that.
so, and he ends up killing one of them, and then of course gets his power
Power
back,
back.
and then there's a cop who.
All he needs one.
They never gave more than just basics, but this script was one that they really liked, which was by Peter Jackson, but they decided against it and went with Freddy's Dead. Watch it. Tell
Get
me
back
if you
to us.
feel. We only gave you 2 minutes of what Peter Jackson wanted to give us.
I'll be honest.
Tell me if you feel. Look, I'll take Peter Jackson's side
I'll
up
be honest.
seat.
I'll take his vision.
All right. Any other likes?
Souls of Children was awesome.
Yeah.
Lifting up the shirt and
The half faces.
that was creepy.
It reminded me of Quarto from
That's-
fucking Total Recall.
That's where I got some Tim Burton. I was like, if Tim Burton wasn't in the like, kind of Disney structure of things, that's what he'd be doing.
Yeah, dark as fuck.
Yeah,
But the Quarto thing out of the belly creeps me
Hold
out.
my hands.
Keep those stumpy little freak things away from me, you fucking slimy bastard.
Maybe another time.
Yeah.
Can I go and buy some gloves?
Oh, you got any hand sanitizer, Quarto?
Any other likes? No.
The Wizard Master was fucking funny. Come on.
He looked like
Wizard
Harry Potter,
Master, you got fucked up.
So I mean, their powers aren't
He just
their
picks him
powers.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually brought them in quite late too, because they spent a lot of time. The powers came in quite late, so they did just wrap them all up really quickly.
Well, they discuss it early because when she first goes to that group session, she's like, "We've all got these powers in the thing," and then it sort of gets forgotten about for a bit, and then they all go in there like, "Oh, I can do this." Like the only one that uses them is that Kincaid gets to use his strength here and there.
Yeah,
But he doesn't, not for any purpose.
No,
He runs through a few walls.
and drag the dudes up out of the tunnel, like when they're falling into the fire. He picks like two people up at once and punches through some walls. But then what's her face flips all over the place like she's fucking Yoda from Attack of the Clones, and that's pretty much it. Like you've got the girl that goes punk and gets things, then the wizard who just has nothing.
What they should have done if you...
And then the screaming kid as well.
If you want...
Who
smashes the
hey, your superpower
I
is
thought
you
that
can
was
yell.
the ending, and I was about to fucking blow up. I went, that's actually the ending. I wrote down worst fucking ending in movie history, and then it fucking went back to. And I'm like, thank God for that.
They forecast that the dad being Freddy so.
And even though I thought it was good that they killed her, why would she fall for Dad? But if you're in the middle of a dream sequence with a psychotic who seems to be able to manipulate dreams, I'm not going near that.
My favourite part in the dream sequence is when Kristen and Nancy meet up in there, and they're like, "Oh!" and then they give each other a big hug.
They both open doors. It's like
And then
it's like a dating show.
yeah, they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't expect to see you." And then they Kincaid, and he like punches his way through.
Oh,
the
I can
wall.
kiss you, and he's like, "Hello, lady."
Yeah. That was ridiculous.
He dead set thinks he's getting a three-way in that situation. He's like, "Alrighty then."
When we wake up,
We've got these sticky sheets over here, girls. Don't you worry.
And if it happens in the dream, it happens in real life.
Yeah.
Alright, okay, let's get into dislikes then, okay? Larry Fishburne. I refuse to accept it.
That's a good trivia
It's
right
Lawrence
there.
Fishburne. They should have called him Lawrence Fishburne. End of story.
Sorry, that was a like.
It's a dislike.
is that an agent? Is that an agent?
Oh,
Paul?
look, that's it. Yeah, so to not Elm Street 3. Ooh, I better put my name. I better change my name slightly.
Yeah, don't call yourself Lawrence. Larry. It's more casual, more cool.
Really rolls off the tongue. Larry Fishburne.
Yeah.
I had the intro. I mean, it was good how they went to Freddy's house and stuff. But you've come in if you haven't got any knowledge of the backstory and what's actually going in this movie, you come in
Cold.
and you get thrown into all sorts of random shit going on.
Yeah.
And you don't know what the fuck's happening.
Yeah.
And then
stand alone, the whole thing is harder to. Because when
plot-
Nancy walks in and it's like, you're like, who the hell are you? It's like,
Yeah.
It doesn't hold up as well without the knowledge of the other one.
Yeah, but the plot, going through the whole thing,
Not so much part two,
It's more of the
just
same. It's the plot has different bits and pieces that it has to do to move on. But other than that, the story is almost non-existent.
Yeah, it basically centres around we have powers and we can go into dreams together.
But they
That's
probably won't be
really
useful,
about it.
and someone
Because-
needs to do something on the outside by putting holy water on it.
Because essentially...
How about if you can? Yeah, but we need someone to stay awake. One person in the room to stay awake during this group hypnosis
Hey,
thing.
that's a great idea, Matthew.
Fuck man.
Oh.
The other thing too is if you look closely at the Amanda Kruger stuff,
Yeah.
it's a side mission. It doesn't really have a lot to do with anything else.
No, it just teases out a solid
a mythology
backstory.
piece about Freddy, but it doesn't really
But the whole hallowed ground thing is all that they themselves really get
out
out of
of it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the plot is lacking.
But the Dream Warriors thing's really the side mission. The actual mission is to go and bury his bones.
Yeah.
That's the actual thing.
But I mean,
that's supposed
the
to be
Amanda
affected.
Kruger stuff, she does nothing. She has no connection with anyone else except for Dr. Gordon.
Yeah.
And all I learn is hallowed ground, and we learn some extra mythology of Freddy. But if that wasn't there, it doesn't affect what was going on in the kids in the unit.
No, they're just doing
anything. So,
but their whole arc is pointless because for all their Dream Warrior powers and stuff, none of them do anything.
no. And what they should have done is introduce their powers earlier on to show that they actually had them, and then we bring them in when we all go into a big dream sequence together. We go in and we go.
Yeah, like their individual dreams, they could have discovered their powers and then used them all together later on.
And then that would have worked, but it doesn't.
Or it still wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, he does sort of just.
Which is funny because they say one thing we need to do is stay together when we go in here, and they go in and straight away they're all on their
Immediately
own.
we're on their own.
Yeah.
Jennifer getting her head stuck in the telly. I don't
was
think
funny.
they actually say it's suicide.
No, they do.
But he says
The doctor says we've had 2 suicides.
unbelievable. That cannot be suicide.
It's about 11 feet off the ground,
Yeah,
that
it's
TV.
right
In the
That's the
wall.
guy that fires her goes, we've got 2 suicides. Fires the doctor and Nancy.
Yeah.
And he says we've got 2 suicides.
He's
But
funny,
yeah,
man.
who's walking in and going, that's just this...
It should have
a
been
suicide.
this. She gets her head put in the TV in the dream. When they come in, she's on fire. She's dropped a cigarette onto
Yeah.
herself
Or something that's
whilst
explainable.
asleep. Yeah.
She's just been someone else, I think, and that kill maybe saved for, I don't know, some other time. It fits because they're still in the whole, you're in this room, so then when you fall asleep, we're going to kill you with what's in this room, whatever.
They just wanted to make some Transformer arms.
Yeah, exactly. It's,
That Freddy-
They knew what they wanted.
that
to
was
do.
that was one of those set pieces where they've come up with it and just said, oh yeah, she can be the one that wants to be an actor. So
She had no chance there. They're not with that head.
That's true.
okay, putting a fine point on it.
She's an extra.
She's
On
a
the
background
councillors.
extra.
The councillors.
She's not even getting like a speaking part.
She's a background in the cafe facing away from the camera, thanks.
Yeah, don't turn around.
These are the worst counsellors ever. He's like the guy's like being questioned about using that medication. He's like, "No, it was my idea all the time." And then she's like, "All right, if you're going to use it, fine, but I'm going to throw you under the bus." And then she's like, he did it. And she throws him under the bus. Like, they're just like the worst. They have no accountability. They have no communication. I don't think that's how it works.
The old lady doctor needs a punch in the throat.
Yeah.
That was my feedback.
She was so
She
shit.
is a prick of a human.
They also keep going with it's straight talk only in this room. And then the moment Kincaid tells it like it is, I can get some security here.
This kid's off the rails. He's saying what he feels.
Well, hang on, you
This is
just
a
said
safe
it was
spot.
straight talk. He's allowed to say what he feels.
They're quite happy to tell the psychotics that they are full of shit, which is what no counsellor will ever do.
My other troubling part is when the suicide comes about. So I get that someone has the angle that they were a coward, that you put someone in the room with that perspective. But then the doctor busted it. The doctor's like, he took the coward's way out. I'm like, well, Kincaid's already said that. You'd think the doctor would be on the side of,
Now, hang
we've
on,
got some problems here, people.
let's not go down there.
Yeah.
He had
his
mental problems.
reasons.
He had mental
Yeah.
health issues. No, he's diving in. The doctor deep dives into.
He's betrayed all of us.
He's a weak bastard.
You guys should all be very angry at him.
I think Freddie said it best. He was a bitch.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. It's so bad. It's a really bad look now to look at it and say, you know, did people actually think that in the 80s that the doctor would be spouting that sort of
There
stuff?
might be some cultural stuff around it. Hey?
Yeah.
The rules around what happens to you in the dream manifests in real life. Like you had an issue with the TV one. The marionette one, why would he not have wounds manifesting on his arms and legs when he's got all his veins pulled out in the dream? Because anytime anything happens to people in the dreams, it manifests on their body in real life. Which is why Freddy's able to carve messages and stuff into it.
Well, as you pointed out, Nancy cuts her hand.
Yeah. So that stuff happens. So then this guy's got his like arms and legs mutilated in his dream, and then he's just walking around and they say, oh, it's a suicide. Like, him jumping off the thing, he still would have had his arms slashed to pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't
That's
make
what I
any
was saying
sense.
before. I was saying that at the beginning.
It's just the rules
What
sometimes
happens-
apply and
yeah.
I
sometimes
think
they
they
don't.
play, throughout the series, I think
Fast
they play
and
hard and
loose
fast.
on the
Well, he walks through a door too, so, you know.
Yeah, and they, later on they do things like that with Freddy where, the damage doesn't really come until he's actually fucking finished him off and, yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Agreed.
It's a
Totally
good
agreed.
There's just no established rules.
They didn't sit down and go, right, well, what are the actual, what's the audience going to ask here, and how does this all work in the dreams? Yeah, is he supposed to see his arms all cut up? They didn't think about that, and then they stupidly introduce Nancy coming in and trying to explain she knows she was in that dream because she cut her hand. Whereas if you took that out, maybe you could have got away with the marionette situation better.
It just
But
needs to be one or the
the moment you introduce
other.
that, you can't get away with it.
Yep.
Because you've then undercut your own rules. So, yeah, and that happens a little bit too. I mean, it's not as bad in this one. It's much worse in the further films. They begin to undercut
Everything.
all the time.
Yeah.
It's basically just
They break their
an
own rules.
excuse to have a cool set piece. Who cares how we got to it? I mean, part 4, they were making that up as they went along. Like, Rennie Harlan was just shooting whatever he liked and sticking it together because they didn't have a script.
Yeah.
So that none of it connects. And at least this one tries to connect things up.
Yeah.
But it's not always successful, unfortunately.
Hence 1.5 stars.
We gave him.
I think there was more some other issues that went towards your 1 star.
We gave him some props for the effects in the likes and stuff. Some of them are pretty poor though. But like I said, on the budget, you've got to give him that.
The skeleton's bad.
Some of them are bad though. Some of the stop motion stuff's pretty rough. But again, like I said, I had
the
it in the likes
skeleton
as well,
looks really bad.
And because even his skeleton, it's got an angry face.
Yeah.
Like your skeleton doesn't have an angry face.
Yeah.
That's your facial muscles and your skin.
It just looks really funny because you can just, it's obviously stop motion. It's obviously been sort of put onto the film, and it just looks so out of place.
Yeah, especially when it tries.
When show him coming towards him like that, it's like.
Or when it picks things up and you can see like the depth's just all wrong and stuff. But
It's
they had
just
nothing
dumb
to work
anyway. A skeleton has no muscles no joints. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I was more perturbed by the fact that Freddy's just fucking manifested himself in the real world at a time of his choosing.
Or that he's starting
That was,
engines.
to me, that was
in
the
real
most
world.
egregious.
He
kind
drops the dream. How come they don't fall out of the dream when he disappears?
I mean, of all the things to mess up, like the first one had that pretty much down. That he couldn't get you if you were awake or in the real world. Like that was your separation.
Yeah.
And you know,
and that's why it was
Nancy
scary.
the one that bridged the gap when she pulled the hat out and realised if I get him in here, we can do the job. That it's played in line with that rule for most of the movie, aside from the little walking through doors and that sort of thing, and then it just fucking blows it out of the water.
Would have been nice if they said, "Give me my hat back."
Yeah, I'll leave you alone if you just fucking give it back.
Yeah, agreed. That
Because
kind of
essentially
really takes it out.
he takes it. He's not a nightmare boogeyman anymore. He's
out
fucking do whatever he wants.
Supernatural fucking
Yeah,
do it.
Why do I have to wait for you to go to
Oh,
sleep?
they're playing with my
Superman.
bones again. Oh, hang on, I better disappear for a while, take care of that situation, then come back.
And why was he starting engines? Like, yeah,
Car.
Yeah,
none of that made sense.
especially considering again it's all in the real world.
It was weird. There was like a digging sound, and that was what they
Would've
could
been better
hear.
if,
There's someone else here, and then the cars start going on, and the digging sound.
Would have been better
Yeah, I know. I
if
thought someone was digging another hole. Or what?
Johnny Saxon was so shit-faced that he fell asleep, and then Freddy could have taken over him or something.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Like, just...
I also love the fact that because it's a stop motion, you see John Saxon pick up like a wrench to swing it at it,
Yeah.
and you can just tell that he's been told, all right, you've got to swing it about
Swing in that
here."
area.
So he's like, and the skill ducks. It just looks so staged.
He was the only good actor.
It's a long way away.
I love
from
Johnny
the-
Saxon. Love him.
He's
Not a
solid.
karate fighter's ass into the dragon.
Correct. Yep.
He's got fly kicks at about.
Yeah.
Probably
Mid-level.
easier to choreograph a fight scene with Bruce Lee than it is to choreograph it with a stop motion skeleton.
But yeah, Johnny Saxon. Yeah, I like to see Johnny Saxon. But,
While we're talking about acting, then we did mention it earlier, but there's some terribly poor acting in this
Yes.
movie.
Patricia Arquette is bad.
Patricia Arquette's poor in it, and like she gets a bit of a rep as being an actress later on in her life. She
She
didn't
won
do
an
it.
Oscar.
She's always stale, man.
Like she's always
She's always stale.
I've never
an
liked
Oscar
her in
means
anything.
nothing.
I know she got an Oscar, but
Yeah.
I never saw it with her. She just has a weird energy, and like maybe some people like it. I never rated
Well,
her.
she is related to David Arquette. And I
That
was
probably
watching
doesn't
Scream 3 today and going, that guy is terrible.
In True Romance, like
Yeah.
that's like where she was supposed to be like this big deal, and like True Romance has got its pros, I guess, but. I just never rated her. But like no, the main one is Nancy though. She's fucking
terrible.
abysmal. The chick with the head in the TV, she was really poor. Kincaid's bad, but in a good way. So
Yeah, he's alright.
The marionette guy is awful.
he's bad.
Awful.
He reminded me of what's his face that ended up playing Samwise Gamgee, but,
Yeah,
but
he
when
does.
he's in Goonies.
Sean Astin. He
Yeah,
does.
Sean Astin. Yeah. He had a bit of that energy, but just with a mullet. So yeah, the acting in it was just some of them dead set. There's bits where Nancy's looking directly at the camera, and you can tell she's reading off a cue card almost. Like
Yeah.
that. It's hard to get on board with that sort of stuff. You said that this was like really scared you when you were little, and I can see that. But watching it now, fuck, it's not scary.
No.
There's nothing going on. That's
No.
I think we're desensitized a little
Yeah.
bit, but this
Erin
is.
hates my wife hates these scary movies, and she was like, "Oh, is this one of those movies when Freddy popped up?"
Yeah.
She didn't even realise that it was a scary movie.
Yeah.
It's not
Well, the
scary.
thing about it was for me is it still has a couple of moments that are creepy, but it's not scary. No, when I was 13,
I'd say the
years old.
creepiest
times,
part is the
different times,
first
I've seen
scene with
so
the little
much
girl
of
in
this
the
stuff.
basement when she's That's the creepiest bit for me. I'm like, oh, this isn't that bad, and it's just it doesn't actually ever get back to that height.
Yeah.
Because he turns into more of a caricature.
Because
and
again, he's cracking
he's
wise,
a cartoon.
mate. You can't be scaring anybody for cracking jokes.
Yeah, well, as you said, you got to put him on MTV. So what can you do with him?
He had a 1-800 number. Back in the day, you'd ring him up and then Freddie, you'd pay $3 a minute for Freddie to tell you you were a fucking bitch.
He VJ'd whole sets. He'd be on the fucking MTV. That's where it kind of transitioned. He couldn't be all out boogeyman anymore. He had to be the star of the show.
Yeah.
So you have to find. I don't know. This was the medium, and it just got worse.
I was watching it with Robert.
Good Patricia Arquette nudge in there too, mate. Medium.
Robert Englund must have thought about this way too much about it. I've watched the commentary for the first one, and he was talking about how he'd had hours of conversations with Nancy about what Freddy Krueger was, how he was meant to act, and I was like, mate, you've overthought this way too much.
But in essence, he fucking made himself a whole career out of doing that, because they tried to replace him in part 2.
That did not work.
And they showed. I think there's about 5 seconds of the footage that remains, and it's fucking dreadful. Yeah. It's so bad. Even just a couple of seconds, the bloke's walking like Frankenstein. Yeah. It's terrible.
Yeah. No, what Robert Englund always said was, he's got friends who are 10 times the actor he's ever been, but he just got lucky. This was... This hit, and it found an audience, and he became... well known as being Freddy Krueger.
Oh, if he's hard up for cash, he can go to a convention and charge $100 for an autograph.
$100 for his autograph?
That's probably being conservative.
Jesus.
I think not, my
Depends
friend.
how rare the toy is that he's signing, right? There was a couple of moments though where his makeup or the plastic that had, he looked a bit like Sterlo.
Sterlo? Oh, that's harsh on poor Peter.
Oh, God.
Peter Sterling coming in for some stick.
Next time you watch it.
Jesus.
Next time you watch it. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong.
Peter Sterling's been called a lot of things.
Not a Freddy Krueger lookalike. Oh.
Bloody hell.
That is debilitating.
Tell me I'm wrong.
Stitched him up.
I'd say he looks more like Fatty Vorton.
I actually think his makeup's not bad in this one.
Yeah,
mate, with the budget,
it's been sort of made more over the top in comparison to the first film.
Yeah.
Which looked really grimy and grungy, and you didn't see it a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, it's been sort of made up.
You see it well lit and everything, like it's not hidden or anything. They're not trying to cut corners with it. So, I referenced it earlier on, like when we talked about the kid yelling no in the Hall of Mirrors thing.
Yeah.
Dead set. If that was the ending, like that pissed me off anyway. That's just like a clear little misdirection. Then straight away when it happens, you're like, oh, hang on, this is something. But I was angry for about 5 seconds there, where I'm like, if that's this guy's fucking power and that ends the movie, I was ropeable. Like I was pissed.
That's not a power.
No, it's
You
just you
can
talking.
talk.
Yeah, cool story, bro.
Not a power. That is just day to day. That's day to day life.
I was waiting for the Simpsons to say, I can talk. I can sing. That's my power. Show tunes, baby.
The only other one I had after that as a dislike was the model house stinger at the end.
Yeah.
Just fuck off.
No need for that.
Well,
I didn't mind that.
it's kind of, that's a hard one, because the first stinger is probably the best, but then it brings all these questions about, say, is Freddy in the real world again, or is she dreaming, or did they not kill him?
Yeah.
This one was just kind of like a...
They try to answer that in the second one, though, don't they? They say the mum died.
Yeah, and they say that in this one, so it's a dream that never affected the mum, but yeah, it's just a bit up and down. As the stingers go, I was kind of like, okay, I don't mind that so much because it's more throwaway. You can sort of... But yeah, wasn't
Does
great.
4 tie into the fact that he's the little model houses where he's come back out?
No.
Freddy is resurrected with dog piss.
Yes,
in
a
4.
dog pisses on the grave, so it's not
That's right.
hello ground anymore.
We're back into weird territory.
I believe once it becomes, doesn't the dog's piss turn into fire as well? Because it's not hello anymore.
Okay, never mind. I didn't ask.
You're on his fire. Really.
Why did I ask?
In the documentary, they say that Martin Scorsese, I think, was floating around one day and came across the set, and you know, ran into the director and said, "Oh, yeah, how are you bringing back Freddy this time?" He's like, "With flaming dog piss."
Enough said, I'm out.
So I'm surprised because Hazy said, "Oh, no, get a look at this.
Can I get on board?
Yeah, can I
This sounds like a train going somewhere.
God.
That's all. I didn't have
think
any more
that's it
dislikes
for
anyway.
me.
Oh, I got two more.
Okay.
Quick ones. Freddy's voice.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it was just the version I watched,
Was it
whether the
modulated
voice
or
was
what?
going, but there was parts where they put that deeper bit on it, and then there was other parts where it was just Robert Englund speaking. And I don't know whether it was intentional or what, but it didn't work.
Yeah, 4.4 mil.
It just kept going up and down.
Yeah,
like,
they ran out of money.
so it's sort of, but I mean, it's totally clear. Like within the same scene, at one point he's there going, and then he's like, England's kind of Weasley little voice. And I'm like,
He does have a
what
weasel
are we
voice.
doing here? What are we doing? Are we sticking with one or the other?
Maybe it was a cock up.
But I think they
sound.
tried. They changed his voice to be other people's voices, so I don't know if it's
Yeah, but that one was just
that's
too
lazy, you reckon?
Yeah, it didn't seem to have a purpose. Like, I can understand going one with the other. The demon kind of growly voice was what they kind of started with, but then England's own voice works in its own way for some things, but I reckon they should have just stuck with the gravelly, growly one.
Yeah.
Well, I think he got nominated for an Oscar for sound editing, didn't
I
he?
think it could have, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's
Lost out to Gladiator.
Not for that one. And the direction lets it down sometimes. Like, I remember one of the big...
Sometimes.
That's the particularly with Freddy. Like, I don't think the direction's the problem.
I think they went for a look. And they
the
got
movie's the
they got
problem.
what they wanted.
No, the specific thing I'm talking about is, before you all jump in and fucking cut me off, the specific thing I'm talking about is with Freddy, a couple of times where they're facing off against him, they go for the long shots and it shows that Robert Englund's a very small man and that he's barely taller than Patricia Arquette.
Yeah.
And it takes away a lot of his intensity and his threat.
Yeah.
And they also show one notable one in the pit at the end. They show a long shot of him, so it's starting. Okay, he's not very scary because he's very small, and then he goes for this exaggerated swat that's like
and misses
a routine,
totally, doesn't
and
it?
it just I thought there was a couple of sequences in the kills where they just. They
Overacted.
edited or directed that stuff badly. But I mean, he could have done that and they show a different shot. They show a closer in shot or a shot of just his fucking head and his arm when he's swiping and you don't notice that. And that was one of the big problems with part 2 is when Freddy comes into the real world and he's at a party and you're like, look at all these fucking football players. They're about 2 feet tall.
Yeah.
So running straight into him when they're meant to be running away from him.
Yeah, and I mean, that is. You've got shots.
It's not like Jason or Michael Myers where they're big, hulking dudes.
Yeah.
And if you want to toe-to-toe, you're going to lose.
All he's got is
if
a
you keep the
glove with some
separation,
knives on it.
if you keep the separation enough and use the techniques, like when he's got the 2 gloves of needles with Taron, he's standing there and it's just a shot of his chest up, and so you get no sense of how big he is.
Yeah.
And they just they've
You can hide it.
stuffed that
They
up
fluff it a couple of times, yeah. There's
Tom Cruise has got away with his whole career being a midget. Like,
exactly,
there's ways to get around it.
exactly.
standing on boxes for 30
Yeah,
years.
fucking platform shoes.
I didn't realise Rambo was that small too.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's like
Rambo
5'7", isn't he?
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's critical that you got to do that with Freddy.
Rambo's jacked, but lean.
Yeah,
that's
that's right.
That's the conclusion.
That's why it's a tough sell to say that he's a heavyweight boxer in Rocky.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, heavyweights are actually
Yeah,
heavy.
they're big.
He'd be like a light middleweight, maybe.
Is that everything, people?
Yeah, that's me.
That's all I got.
Alright, that was Nightmare on Elm Street 3, Dream Warriors. Loved by some, not by others. If you want to get in touch with us, send us an email at thrillme@ionet.net.au. Like us on Facebook, Thrill Me Podcast Australia, and at Podomatic at thrillme.podomatic.com. Make sure to rate and review us on iTunes and Podomatic. Next episode, we're going into Oscar territory. Gladiator. Russell Crowe, Russell the Rock, Oliver Reed. Can't wait. But until then, take it easy, and we'll catch everyone later. Cheers. Find the podcast at Podomatic or on iTunes. Don't forget to rate and review. Like us on Facebook at Thrill Me Podcast Australia, or contact us at thrillme, all one word, all lowercase, at ionet.net.au.